What's up?
Man, sorry for being late, man.
Oh, you're good.
How you doing, man?
Uh, just working on writing right now. I'm working on my novel.
Oh, sound like you at the house.
Nah, I'm in the warehouse.
Oh, okay, you just not in the car.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. We definitely gonna hear you today, brother.
Yeah, you are good. The Wi-Fi strong, no lagging, nothing.
Yo, I'll be like, like them days, like, uh, you about to cook, right? And then
Uh-huh.
as soon as you about to cook, the oil go out. Yo, we be so mad because we be like, oh.
Yeah, I know.
He was about to go in, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I think today's it's gonna be interesting today, man. I think I kind of know what the answer is, but it'd be interesting to see how everyone kind of like interacts with each other about it.
Yeah.
But I have a answer, but like my answer has like for me, right? I have like a general answer.
Mm-hmm.
I have like a by age case answer too, because I think when you're a certain age, as a man, you may get judged for some things you haven't done yet.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with a woman, right?
Sure.
It's like, well, they may not be getting so judged so harshly now, but if they remain this at a certain time of their life, then that's when you'll see more of it. That judgment come. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it'll come from the other side and your own peers.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes some people look at it as, oh, nah, that's only a woman's opinion. Nah, some things are a man and a woman's opinion. You got both of them coming at
Right.
you. you know?
I get that. Yep.
I kind of feel like women, this is just my opinion, right? I guess because as men, we're going to have more thing about just being more objective towards each other as other men. I find that women will stay on code more so with their gender,
Mm-hmm.
as we as opposed were if men are on code, we're on code with a not so much the gender, but just a ideology.
Mm-hmm.
So like if we're on code with a particular group of men, it's because that particular person shares the same ideology, but not just because they're just a man.
Right.
And I remember one of the things I had to explain on the show uh, on Monday night with our homie. She was like, "Oh nah, y'all men do this um, and will excuse the behavior of others." I said, "No, no, no, that's not true." I said, "I'm on code with." I said I'm on code with good behavior. I said,
Right.
so if you present to me women who are on good behavior, I'm on code with that. I said that's the part you're missing.
Yep. Exactly. Um, I think overall it's women that get judged more,
Yeah,
but it really depends on the context of why she's single. You know,
right.
I know a girl, and me and my cousin were talking about this earlier. I know a girl, I'm not gonna say her name, but I knew her, well enough. We had classes together in high school. Actually, I knew her through middle school and high school. And middle school, she wasn't dating anybody. She carried herself with respect. Kept to her studies. Just carried herself, to a certain level. And a lot of guys have respect for that, Even through high school, I don't think she was dating that much. I didn't go to college with her, so I don't know what she was doing in college, but She's married now, I believe, and she was single all those years. A lot of the years that girls date anyway. Um, a lot of girls date, as early as middle school now, and I mean date. They be doing a lot of stuff in middle school now. Um, she wasn't doing that. She was, carrying herself well, and now she's, um, married and to a guy. I don't know the guy that well, but I'm pretty sure he's respectable. She has, a seemingly good life. That's because she carried herself a certain way early on, and now she doesn't have to worry about, knock on wood, of course, because you never know, things can happen. But God forbid that she breaks up with him or anything like that. But I don't think so because of the way she is, and she found someone that could take care of her and whatnot. And so she's not going to have to worry about being judged about being single later on. When it comes to women being judged for being single, it's the context of why they're single, right? If you're doing all kinds of nonsense, if you're doing all kinds of nonsense, right? When you're in high school and you're in college and all that other stuff, right? And then you're 32, 33, 34, complaining about not having a guy and whatnot. Um, well, a lot of times society is gonna look at you like you're stupid because you decided to waste a lot of your prime years doing jack nothing. You know, you wasted your prime years having fun and chasing the bag and doing things that aren't conducive for you having a nice life and having a nice husband. And now everyone is looking at you like you're a goofy, you know? And I think on the flip side, for guys, right? Guys don't get judged for being single later in life, but that also requires context, right? If that guy at the age of 40 is doing stuff he was doing in college, it's not cute anymore. So no one's gonna like want to be with the bachelor. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you have the bachelor archetype, and all he's gonna do is just indulge in party activity and not be good for any woman. But there aren't that many bachelors out there that are doing that kind of stuff. I mean, there are, but not enough to where society is going to judge men for being single when they're 35.
For someone like me who's 39. Oh yeah,
Right.
man. That judgment came when I was 30, brother. Yeah. When I turned
Really?
30 and I didn't have a wife and kids, that judgment definitely came when I turned 30.
Yeah, but
And I was
also like your
and I was
lifestyle,
and I wasn't living reckless, so
right? Right. I mean, I hear you. I would just say that your lifestyle doesn't necessarily like for me. If you're just working and you're doing your thing and you're just living as an average human being, I really don't understand why there would be judgment on you. Only because there are guys your age living like they're still in college, and doing all kind of nonsense. So I don't necessarily see the. I don't get it personally, but that's just me. So.
Yeah. Can I say hi?
Oh yeah, welcome to the panel.
I
I say
can
your
say
name.
hi.
I say your name.
Hmm?
Is it Adam?
No, but the guy said no, man.
Okay.
No, no, my name is
If you're talking, I can't hear you.
beyond is the string freezing up or something?
Adam. But
I,
like, why would you
you just cut out. I think.
say no?
Hey, it's cutting both of y'all out, sadly. Beyond, are you there?
Oh, is it? I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, not, but you're good. For a minute, it was cutting everyone out. I don't know what's going on. Adam, you there? Adam, the topic. Yo, I don't know what's going on. Beyonda, is it me or is it I'm tripping?
I don't know. I have no idea, bro.
Okay, I'm just making sure TikTok ain't bugging because it's looking a little funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, Adam, if you could hear us, the topic is who gets judged more for being single, men or women? I don't know what's going on, but anyway, Beyonda, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I'm still
Okay,
listening. I don't
yeah,
know. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with the audio. Hopefully, it's not the stream itself. Um, but anyway, yeah, there's going to be context in terms of like the age that you are for the men and the woman, you know. And you're right, the lifestyle that you may live is going to play a role. You know, if you live a playboy's lifestyle, you know, a promiscuous lifestyle, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, that is, I would say, a life that you choose, right?
Yeah.
So if you're choosing to play like that and kind of go from person to person, then whatever results come from that are going to come from that. I think the issue is when someone lives that way and then complains to why nothing good is going on in their life and pertains to how they deal with men and women. That doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Because my thing is, if you're going to do it, then you got to take the bad. If you feel that it's good, you got to take the bad you got to take the bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So I mean, that's how I look at things. Like, don't do all of that and then complain. But
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's gonna be like, well, who puts more pressure? Like, is there more pressure? Because we talked about this. You know, there's more pressure gets put on women to have children and a husband before a certain age because of biological clock and stuff like that. Because you hear that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just something me and you made up. It's science, right?
Right.
That's where a man, he could start a family at 50 if he wanted to. Now the woman obviously has to be younger than him for that to happen, but that could happen, and then he'll get judged differently than the woman.
Right.
That's how I look at things. I'm bringing up a lady.
Sure.
Hello, is
Yeah.
J Rose?
Hi. Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what you said, I mean, yeah, you can start a family at 50, but what, SPERM is compromised as well with genetic abnormalities and things like that are possible, obviously. So both men and women do have challenges while they get older. Obviously, women with giving birth and having geriatric pregnancy or whatnot is what you call it. It's better to obviously give birth around certain ages for health reasons of the baby and health reasons for the mother. But older men also have a lot of issues with having children that are autistic and things like that, even with younger women and other genetic abnormalities. It's just facts. You could look it up. But I do want to speak on who gets judged more. I feel like men and women judge each other, a lot of the times on aging. And men get, when they're older, I guess they're considered creepy if they're not married, right? And I guess women are considered lonely. So I guess, it's just different types of judgment.
Hey, J Rose.
Yes.
So you don't have to necessarily give your age, right?
Mm-hmm.
But are you comfortable if I name like a within a 10-year frame? Like, are you 20 to 30 or 30 to 40?
I'm 40 to 50.
You're 40 to 50. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So what we're saying is that, you're going to have at certain times of a person's life where the judgment may come in a little differently, right? So when someone is 20 single, is going to be very different from someone who's 30 and single, and very different from someone who's 40 and single and 50 and single, right?
I'm sorry. What was that again?
No,
My
I was no, I
son-in-law
was
came in here.
no, that's okay. I was saying that the judgment, being judged, is going to also go by the age groups too, right? So
Yes.
if being single at 20 is not going to be deemed the same way as being single at 40.
Oh, I agree
Um,
with you 100%.
yeah,
And that's why I feel like when you
mhm,
get older, right, you go through those stages already. You
yeah,
know, I was in my 20s that, you know, older men, 40s, 50s, 60s were hitting up on me. Even now, like it's still the same because I look a lot younger than I am. And you know, it's always older men, and I, even at my age, I
mhm,
wouldn't date a man 5 years older than me. I'm married. I've been married 29 years, so I'm not even in the market.
okay,
But I just look at things differently. You know, I remember being preyed upon as a young, beautiful girl. You know, I take care of my body and my health, and it's just different. It's just different. I do believe that a good age to give birth and have children is around 25 to 30 as a woman. I do.
mhm.
Same with men, you know, 25, maybe 35. I'm just really strict about that stuff because all three of my daughters are grown adults and, you know, they kind of go by that as well. And they all are in healthy relationships. One's married and I have grandchildren. So, you know, there's challenges to everything, but yeah, you're viewed differently, definitely men and women. When men and women age, you are viewed differently. Yes.
Well, I would say men are going to be judged more so for their financial peak as opposed to the age that they have kids. So men typically hit their financial peak around their 40s. It's like 35 to 45 years old. And so what happens is, um, if a man has a child at 25, he's okay. Okay, so he could have the child scientifically, but the thing is that if he's not financially where he needs to be at 25, they're gonna be like, you shouldn't have had that kid. So he's gonna get judged very differently from a woman at 25 if she has a kid, because no one is looking at a woman's how much a woman earns before she has a child, but they're definitely looking at how much a man earns before he has a child.
Oh, of course. But I do definitely agree with you with the financial peak, definitely, right?
Yeah.
My husband and I are very well off. But you have to remember, late 20s, 30s, you're financially starting to rise significantly in your finances, period. Okay? That's when you should start building a family. All right? You're young enough too. When you are 40, 50 years old, or even in your like late 40s, even late 30s, when you have children, things get significantly harder. Okay? Now you're an older person raising children. All right? It's a lot different to me. There is, with men and women both, I think, a small window to have children regardless. There's
Hmm.
pros and cons to it all. I don't care if you're not the wealthiest man, but you are starting to rise substantially in your late 20s, early 30s with your wealth. And if you're not doing things right, period.
I would say
So,
this. I would say this, Jay Rose, to kind of keep in mind. Um, Things are getting later and later, also economically, and also for women too.
well, I can't
So
really agree with you, Fifth, because my youngest daughter is 22 years old and she just bought her first home, brand new, 4-bedroom home. Okay. So I can't really agree with you there. All my daughters have college educations. Two are engineers. One's working on her CRNA. So I just think it depends on who you are as a younger person and what your goals are and how you want to live your life. Okay.
well, I'm talking
So
about the
I,
average. I'm talking about the average person.
so
Your
you know what
daughters are
I
not the
think about
average.
that? You know what I think about that?
Hmm.
Do better as a person. I don't really do that victim mentality stuff. You already know how people behave when they're younger. They get involved in partying and things like that. And I'm not saying my daughters don't have fun. They have fun. They go on vacations. They even go out on the weekends sometimes, you know, the other ones. But I mean, they have their mind on their money and their money on their mind. And even raising families or, you know, having husbands or whatnot. It's just who you are as a person. That's what I truly believe.
I think what
And
he's saying is that not many people have that that mindset. He's not saying that he's in favor of that. He's saying
So are
that
you saying if you don't have that mindset and you're a man and you don't have that mindset, it's okay to be 40, 50 and then start a family? I mean, you're going to looked upon a certain way. It doesn't matter if you're financially stable. There's always going to be a disconnect. There's always going to be challenges with that. Even if you're a millionaire, a billionaire, things like that. I mean, I think that's why a lot of young women these days, are sick of older men hitting up on them a lot of the times. I wouldn't even date a man that was 5 years older than me. That's my max.
Yeah,
I
but
know how it
see,
is with wrinkled balls, gray balls. Your starts to slurp out. I mean, I know what it is, and my husband's a healthy man. It's just I know the genetic side of it.
so Jay Rose, are you trolling right now?
I swear I'm not trolling.
Okay,
I'm not a troll. I'm
so
not a
so
follower. I'm not looking to be followed. I promise you, I'm just an older woman. I know what I'm talking about.
no, I get it, but the reason why I asked that question is because I'm talking about. So I'm not mentality versus circumstances is my point. So
Okay.
just because you have a mentality doesn't mean that's your circumstance. Not everybody comes from the same city, the same
Yes.
upbringing, the same
Okay.
inheritance.
But we
And
all
what I'm
live in
saying is the
America.
average. No, we all don't. Not everyone has the same experience in America. So what I'm saying is that if you look at the average men and women,
Mm-hmm.
not every 22-year-old, like you mentioned, owns a home in the city that they are particularly living or from. That's just not realistic.
Okay, you don't have to own a home, but you can have an apartment. You can have you can have a townhome. You can have a career. I mean, it doesn't always have to be the same thing, but it's things that you do to progress in life. Okay? It
well,
doesn't
I,
have to be
Hey,
owning a
can I answer?
home.
Can I answer the prop real quick?
Hold on, one quick second. I will get to you. I promise. I'm gonna let
Okay, perfect.
J Rose land. Then I'm gonna get to
That's okay.
everybody.
Go ahead and go to
You
somebody else. I
sure?
think
Okay.
you've heard me enough. Yes.
No, that's okay. How do I say your name? Is it
Zico, it's just Zico. You
Zico?
said Zico. Yeah. I was gonna say who gets judged more. I'm definitely gonna say men, because if you a man, it's gonna be like if you a woman and you're single, nobody really gonna bat an eye. If you a man and you're single, you have like a friend in your friend group, they're gonna say you get no hoes, you get no bitches, you ain't got no girls, so you're
Hold
a
on.
virgin.
Disclaimer. You gotta watch the cursing up
Oh,
here.
sorry.
Okay?
You
It's
get
okay.
no
Go ahead.
women, etc., etc. You're a virgin.
oh gosh, that was funny.
Hey man, he got a point about that part of the spectrum, but yeah. Zico, you got more before you land. I ain't want to cut you. Go ahead.
That's really about it. That's the truth.
Okay, I'm gonna get to somebody else, and then we're gonna get back to the conversation. Is it T in the corner?
Yeah, hey everybody. Light energies, blessings. How y'all doing? Who gets well in today's climate it's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
I think in today's climate, I think men are judged more for being single than women. Because in the professional world, it shows that you can maintain a relationship, loyalty. It does speak strength into your character, depending how old you are too. But for people that are entering in their 30s and 40s, that's paramount because generally everybody is kind of woke by then, and women can truly choose if they really want that character in their life. Whereas if you're younger, it could be a little ambiguous because most young people are still learning. But as you get into your 30s and 40s, of course, 50s, that is a huge reward to say, look, I'm with my woman, I'm married, I can commit to things, I'm stable, and I can focus on my job. So for men today, again, with today's climate, with the women are able to financially be able to provide for themselves, it shows the character of a man because most women can opt to be with you and only be with you because of who you are and not your money because they now have money. So the status of being in a relationship is actually more valuable, in terms of a man. That shows that you have amazing character.
So I want to speak. Oh,
Because
never
they
mind.
don't have to
Go
for
ahead,
your
T.
money.
I wanted to respond to you, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying that a lot of professional women or women with money that are married, and or if the man is married, women know their liberties. They can't go out and make the money. So again, they are true. This is a solid human being, is what it shows the world. A man that is married and or has, a defined relationship. Women no longer care, rather how you look at them. Actually, within the female community, we are in a situation of picking up the pieces of being in wrong relationships with bad characters. So that is why we went to school. That's why we're making our own money. And now we understand how it could destroy us spiritually by being with the wrong character. So a lot of women are proud to be alone and happy and jumping around. So if you got a woman, that speaks volumes of who you are as a Lion King. That's the true Lion King.
I agree because my husband is sought after by single women so much because of what we have as a couple, what we have as a married couple. I mean, he is a desired
Hmm.
man compared to a single man
Yeah.
at work. Definitely, definitely.
It shows he can commit and that you like him. Because most women, they always want to say, oh, it's men. No, well, a lot of women I know don't even like men. Most of the times we were with them because of the money. And so now that we're able to make our money, now it's shift to where do I really like you?
You know,
Now I have to look at you as if I really like you. It's no longer about the money because if I make money, I have to really like you because I wouldn't need you for the money. So
T,
your
T,
character
T,
is
stay right
awesome
there.
now.
T, stay right there. When you say it's no longer about the money,
Right.
is that your way of saying that before it was always about the money?
Oh, absolutely. And that, well, here's because patriarchy had that system in which that women couldn't vote, they could not work. All of that worked for the benefit of men being in power. And mind you, it hasn't been a long time. It hasn't even been 50 years that women could go to school and or work. It hasn't even been 50 years. So let's not think that it's been a long time ago. So through the feminist movement and women being able to vote, to be able
Oh,
to work, all of that has just come to fruition less than 50 years ago. I think it's like 48 because I think it was like 1975 or something like where women were truly able to go work and all that. So what occurred is like my grandmother or my
Wait,
great grandmother, they weren't able to actually
that's
choose a
51
husband.
years. That's
hold,
51
They
years.
hold on, Just
Okay,
B. Hold
well,
on,
hold
hold on.
on, hold on. So still, no, it's not. Well, if it is 51, but again, that's
Well,
still
it
young.
is.
Okay,
1
hold
plus
on,
Hold
1
sir.
on,
equals
Just
Sir,
B.
can
2.
I
Hold on.
please
Wait your
speak?
turn. Go ahead, T.
So
Go ahead,
the
Land.
so the point and the fact is that women like my grandma and my grandma were not able to choose. Most of them, based on society and the laws, were like, you need to get married because how are you going to survive? It wasn't of how you felt about the husband or, if you were in love with his personality. It was like, this is how you're going to survive, honey. You have to get married. So the husband, he was the one who chose whoever he wanted. The woman had no, that was just what was presented. She had no choice, and that was just her end for survival. Now, in today's climate, again, only 50 years, or let's say 51 years, is that it has evolved to where a woman can go to school, she can work, she can divorce, she can own her home, she can do whatever. So now we actually deal with men on if we really like them, if we really like their character. It's no longer for it will I survive without a husband. Like I literally have to like you. And so for all the bums that just didn't have to do anything, that survived off of the law, that's no longer existence. And again, it's only been 50 years now. So now a man that can sustain a woman, that means a lot, especially if she's an awesome lady and she's smart and she's can earn money and she's beautiful and you can sustain that, baby, you are a man for real, for real.
All right, so let
Now,
me.
and that also goes back, and I'll land right here,
Yeah.
why a lot of men will start to date down for the opportunity to date someone who hasn't yet made that mental or development milestone. They will date people that haven't even developed into the awareness of that, and that's why they end up wanting children, because they know that those children aren't aware of that, whereas someone their age, you know definitely knows. And so that's why I don't even respect when I see a man with a younger person, because it screams volumes as to why you would date somebody that couldn't possibly, naturally, physically, I don't care what this person has gone through, could ever see eye to eye to you. And the fact that you chose to date someone younger speaks volumes about who you are as a character.
Is the
Okay.
shaming done?
Okay, well let me cut in because it's kind of going off to a different subject, and you said a lot of things, so we need to kind of like address what you're saying. But before anyone does, up here, no cursing. All right, let's answer the prompt first, and then you can retort. So, just be the topic is who gets judged more for being single, men or women? Go ahead.
Women. Women get judged more for being single, whether it be just single or being a single parent. They get judged more. However, women are giving men more and more reasons every day to stay single. Like it's within your own best interest as a man to have control over your willpower and over, your willy, and make sure that you don't ever make the mistake of getting tied up with one of these women that think they are the prize when they were actually just at the bottom of the Cracker Jack box. And there's always a prize at the bottom, but that's not what you want to be messing with. Go out, get your bag, get your mind right, get yourself right, get your pocketbook right, and then you will find a woman that's right. But it goes in that order. You don't find a woman and then go and get your stuff right, because you meet them when you're young and don't have nothing. They're going to divorce you when you're older and have some stuff, and they're going to take that stuff. You have your stuff, you have your vision, you have your goals and what you want to do, and you allow someone to become part of that. It's like putting the carriage before the horse. Get your shit right.
Yeah,
Then
watch that word, okay?
get your stuff right, and then go get a woman. Don't get a woman and then try getting your stuff right. And that's what all these women keep complaining about is, oh, well, hey, I don't want some broke dude. I don't want this. You should come at us correct. It's like, if we're coming at you correct, you do understand that you are now becoming an accessory. You are not like a component of this success. You are now an accessory because of this success, and you're not as important as you think you are. So, guys, willpower self-respect, um, and discernment. I love women. I completely love them. They're beautiful. They're amazing creatures. But I love men. My sons, my friends, myself. I advocate for us. I advocate for women as well. But men, be wise, be successful, be educated, be smart, be gentlemen, and don't let some vagina with an agenda take your stuff from you. I land my plane. Thank you very much for my time.
All right, King David, your turn.
Well, honestly, Just B, thanks for your talk. I appreciate you, buddy. You know, I think that a lot of these women are just bullies, and that's why they're single, and that's why they're being judged for it, is because they're just really mean, disgusting people. It's funny how like all of these people who talk self-love and be kind, and then a man like that comes on and they just bully him, you know, in the chats. It's just, I don't understand why these women are just so hypocritical on everything. You know, they dated old men when they were younger, and now they're old and they say it's not okay. They want to shame them. It's just, their time has passed, you know, and that's why it's harder for a woman, because when a woman's time is past, it's past. There's no bringing it back. It's dead in a grave. It smells like a fish market. You know, I know.
And you
I
know
know.
what?
No, let me finish, sweetheart.
I know you
Oh
would
no,
know
I
because that
pray
you
you
know
let me
what?
finish.
I
No,
love that you
listen.
like
Can
your
you mute her?
voice and
T,
your
Can you mute her?
T, T,
Can you
hold
mute
on,
her?
He's
hold on,
I
Can you
T,
can't
mute
wait.
her? Can you mute
T,
her?
I love
Thanks.
it.
T, hold
No,
on.
no. Can you mute her, host? You have the power.
Yeah, I
I
know.
Yeah, I know. Can you let me land my plane? Jeez.
Go ahead,
Even
King.
Oh
'Cause
my.
we let her talk and we didn't
Well, they
interrupt her.
always
Go
want to
ahead, King.
interrupt me when I have a really good point.
Go ahead, King.
Isn't
Go
that
ahead.
well? You gonna play music or you let me talk?
Yo, who's that?
I
Hey, yo,
don't.
Zacchaeus, you gotta mute up.
I thought that was you. I was. I'm like,
No,
what the
that's
hell?
not.
I
That's
got
Just
not
it.
turn on
me.
music.
I
Was
got
me.
the.
You
No,
know.
but
Yeah, go ahead,
I'll be
King.
muting this time.
But
It's good.
listen. No, but listen. It's sad because that's why women are judged harder, because they have such an easy time finding a man. There's just men lining up down the block who want to date them, and instead they'd rather try to extract as many resources as possible from them, and then say that they're good, kind people while they dress like prostitutes and look like they have 100 bodies at least. I just don't know where their self-righteousness comes from, host. I just don't know. I pray for a time where young women don't listen to these women who want to shame everyone because they're toast. I think that that's why women are never gonna have what they want, is because they're too busy trying to steal during their youth, and then they're convinced that this is the way life is meant to be. They're meant to use the man as a business. He's like a job, you know. So when a woman doesn't have a job, aka a man to extract resources from, she's looked down upon. So it's sad. It's sad where our society has gone to, and I guess that's it for now.
Okay.
why do we have someone up in the comments that seems to be all in their feels about things? They seem to be putting in comments that
Yeah, I would.
maybe
I would.
something that was said triggered them.
Yeah, hold
Well,
on.
because they're in their
I would.
feelings,
Hold
so to
on.
speak.
Hold on. Stop. I would ignore the comments for the most part and just focus on the people on the panel, because it will kind of
Well,
like derail the whole conversation. Just saying.
yeah, and I get that. And when I went off and the gentleman after me was speaking, he made reference to people in the comments, and I actually went and looked at it. And boy, there's it.
You know what?
It
It's
came to me.
disgusting. These are the people who say that they're kind, good people, and that they have good things to offer the world, and then they talk like this. It's very sad. And they're totally out of order. That's the problem, is like the order of reality is against them. And that's why they're so
Well,
bitter. That's why they're so bitter, Just. So don't worry.
I think at the same time, as I said before, I am an advocate for women and men,
Well, God bless you.
but us to be our better selves and to ask other men this question: is it possible that there are bitter women out there who chose or had the misfortune of coming in contact with one of us as men that didn't carry the qualities
A demonic
that
man.
it takes to be
Exactly.
a man?
Right. A fake man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so I think any man that respects himself and I've raised two amazing sons. Okay. And they hold doors for me, they hold doors for the strangers behind them at a restaurant. Like, they're gentlemen, they're young gentlemen. But I'm looking at what men are being told, and it's
It's the
not
opposite.
it's not anything that is conducive to wanting to be a gentleman.
Well, they're teaching everyone the opposite of
Being the
what should happen.
provider. Oh, men ain't shit. Like, we've heard all this. We don't need a man.
Yeah, you have to watch that S word, my guy.
yeah, but let me cut in real quick. Let me get Zacchaeus to speak up, and then I'm gonna get back to T. Yo, Zacchaeus, how you doing, brother? Zacchaeus, you there?
Who
You
gets judged
you
more
you on mute? Hey, what's going on, brother?
single men or women?
You on mute, Zacchaeus?
The answer is trans. Trans get judged more.
What?
Hey, yes.
Yo, hey. So you see the topic,
Hey.
man? Who gets judged more for being single, men or women? Go ahead.
I'm gonna say men. I'm gonna say men. The reason why I'm gonna say men because you see when a man hits a certain age and he's still single, it's like he gonna you be called the word. You be called all type of words, but especially when you hit a certain age, and then when you're still single, they look at you. I've seen that many times, and I know the single men and I know single men could relate to what I'm saying. That when you hit a certain age, like when you hit 40s and up, I would say late 30s, 40s and up, you consider, oh, is he this? Is he that? Is he the LGBT part of the LGBTQ community? All type of things being thrown at you. But the women, when they're single for a long period of time, they're like, oh, she'll date somebody eventually. Oh, don't worry about it. She'll eventually find somebody. Or they'll be like, oh, she just happen to be single. That's it. So I'm gonna say men gets judged more. I'm gonna say that.
That's what's up, T. You can respond. You waited. I know you had a retort.
Yeah, I was gonna say that she's able to respond if she wants to, and then we can resume back to the
prompt.
open panel. Yeah.
Yeah. T, you there? T, you gotta unmute if you're ready.
Well, Fifth, I don't know if you had any following questions that relates to this, so that we can move along.
Actually, I do. Yeah. Who gets judged more by their own gender for being single? Men or women? By their own gender.
I'll answer that first. I'm gonna say woman because a lot of times, if you look at the married moms with their single friends, when the single friends are around, they'll treat that friend nice or whatever. But then, when the married people are around, they're like, "Oh, when you gonna get a man?" I've heard that way too many times. You know what I'm saying? Guys will do it too, but not as harsh as women. I don't think. So I'm gonna say women judge themselves more. Well, women are more critical of their friends anyway. You know, like a lot of times, guys aren't even the ones to put down on women at all. It's really women that do it. You know, women are. People forget that women are just as harsh and rude, or if not more than men are, because they're more socially inept and socially calibrated, so they have the ability to pretty much like have the gift of gab. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So I would say that women are more critical of their friends or other women who are single. Yeah, in their friend group, I guess.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, especially if her friend group is all married and she's the single one. But what if they're all single? What happens then?
Then they'll shame her into being single.
Or it'll come into like who has the best probability of finding a man. That's really what it's gonna come down to. Like who's gonna find a man first, who's gonna lock someone down.
I think women are way better at shaming than men.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah, they love that shaming. They love name calling and putting down and trying to manipulate. It's pretty interesting how they're the more nurturing and more morally sound group, but they just rip each other's heads off emotionally, and they're so emotionally abusive. So just be like that. Honestly,
you're speaking truth, sir.
that's why the women get so mad when I talk, B.
Well, they get mad when
That's
I
why
talk
they try
too.
to interrupt me, but then when you ask them to talk, they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah, it's crickets. Now,
Yeah, I would say that guys can be, because guys we have locker room talk, so it is gonna be a little bit different from how women communicate and whatnot. Locker room talk can come across as harsh, but the thing is, guys, a lot of times we receive that talk because we're guys and we can kind of like acquiesce to that kind of like humor or that kind of like interaction.
actually, what I think it is that men want to root for their teammates, and men want to see men do well.
It's the
And
opposite for
women view other women always as competition. And
they want to
you
lose.
see like you go out and you look you watch NBA games, you watch WNBA games, and there is a complete difference in this. It's whoever's doing great, it's like the guys understand that if they're doing great, they're going to get us our money. Now you get somebody that comes out here that is blowing away the competition, broke Pete Maravich's college record, and they come into the league. They're getting everybody money, and what are all of these players doing? They're attacking her. They're trying to take her out of the game when she's the reason that they're getting more money and more tickets and more butts in the seats, and they hate her. Why? Because she's not your typical demographic, and men want to see men do better. Women want to be the better woman.
Well, this is why DEI exists, is because when they see someone doing better, they want to be equal to that. They don't want to accept
Put in the
praise
work.
that they don't want to do the work. They want to be put in the front along with the winners. That's well, I mean, wouldn't it be a perfect world? I mean, but like that's the problem. Is like it wouldn't be. Like people who work hard, that's why they get good things. And I just
And I have to give warning to good men out there. I'm not saying all men are good, or even that all of them up on
Oh,
the
I got a good
panel
one for
are,
this.
but I will give the benefit of the doubt knowingly. Yeah, I provided for my family. I raised my kids, provided 90% of the income, 100% of the health care, 100% of the retirement plan. But it took me, I'm in the pipe fitters union, so like I sat next to, spent fuel rods for a nuclear reactor, making welds on a reactor. Like, they measured the amount of radiation I took. I've done this. I currently am sitting with 4 scabs from burns, and that's how I made my money. And somehow someone's going to tell me that we ain't shit, man.
No, the girls
ain't
call that the
shit.
bare minimum now. Just be they call that bare minimum.
Yeah, so
No, but
I'm gonna say again.
yeah, man, that's
You really can't curse on here, and I do like you, just Ben, but I don't want to say that again because TikTok has very specific language rules,
Isn't it
and it messes
crazy?
with the algorithm if you continue
See
to
that
do
in a
that.
free
So don't.
country, we can't say what we want. Isn't that alarming?
It
Even
is
on even
alarming.
on an app.
I'm with
Well, I
you.
mean, it's
Trust me.
something to be scared of, guys. You guys should be very scared of this.
well. I don't. Well,
I'm with you.
me personally, King David, I don't use profanity, so
You don't use profanity at all.
no, I don't.
Well,
I
God
don't use
bless you for
profanity.
that.
So no, but I'm
But
not bragging. But I'm
You,
just saying it's easy
well,
for me to
I
come on this app because
apologize.
I
I
don't use
apologize
profanity.
well, I'm sure.
for swearing, but I will tell you this. There are many words you can say, but as long as they don't start with the letter J, you'll be okay up here.
Oh my, that's a good point. Oh,
I
you mean
don't.
our occupied country?
I don't disagree there, but
100%.
Yeah.
this is owned by a J, so let's just
Well,
keep
it's
it
owned
real.
by
Yeah.
it's owned by
Yeah,
a monster.
exactly. And
It's
and
owned by
his son
synagogue of
now
Satan
owns
member.
CBS as well, and put Barry Weiss, another air quote J, in charge of CBS News and 60
Well,
Minutes.
do you guys know that they're not even real Jays? They're actually synagogue of Satan.
Well, hold on. So
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
actually
think
not.
of. Hold on. Wait a minute.
They're imposters, actually.
Wait
That's
a
what
minute.
they really
Everyone,
are.
hold
Those
on.
that claim
Hold on.
they are but are not.
Wait a minute.
yeah,
Stop.
let's
That's
not go there. Let's
biblical.
not go there.
That
Let's
is
not go there.
biblical right there.
Isn't it crazy?
Netanyahu's
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on.
All right, so let me be honest. Let me say something real quick.
Go ahead.
All right, yo, yeah, come on, man. Like, if you want to do your own live and do all of that, that's cool. But what I'm saying is, up here, you're gonna flag this algorithm, man. You're gonna flag it, so you got to be careful with all of that. Yeah, I know it's not cool. Trust me, because you could come up here and say the N word all you want, and they'll let that fly, which I got a problem with. But you say anything about anybody else, then they don't let that fly. This is a very hypocritical app. I get it, but like you gotta respect the rules, man. I didn't part of them rules is my rules, but most of the rules is because of the app itself. TikTok got rules. You know, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. That's all.
These apps like this need to not be supported in America, honestly, because it limits free speech.
It's not owned by China no more.
It's
You know what I mean?
divisive. It really is, host. You're making money off of a divisive tactic. It's actually propaganda. So I mean, I you may not use profanity, but spreading propaganda is probably even worse, in my opinion.
Who's
But
spreading
you're also on
propaganda?
the app.
So,
Wait,
well,
wait.
I'm here to defeat this evil. I'm here to
Okay,
combat this evil in the name of Christ.
So you
But
could do that on your channel.
well, I'm doing it on my terms right now.
No, on your channel you could do that.
Oh well, I don't. I can make a channel. But I have a stream. I just don't care to be on it. I'd rather go and talk to other people about things like this in
Okay,
their streams.
okay, which is
Maybe
cool, but
wake them up.
I mean, that's cool, but it's not so much that you're waking them up. This is the rules of the app. They can literally cut my stream. As a matter of fact, my stream has been flagged several times.
Hey, you know what? That's fine. I don't see the problem. It's because you're trying to make money off division. Is that the problem?
Wait, hold on. I'm trying to make money
on division.
What division am I
That's the only
spewing?
problem I see. I mean, you know, if we're gonna have such a bad faith conversation, I guess I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, all right, get
But you
out.
have a blessed day.
All right. See, when you can't substantiate your point, I don't understand.
Yeah.
What division am I spewing? All I did was just say that was the rules of the app, and this is not owned by China anymore.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think, you know, they were making sense, but then they just took it a way different like path, and it just got
Right,
out of hand.
right, and
They had to go.
that's why I let them rock until that point, and I'm like, bruh, like, you know, if you want to do all of that, go on your channel. You can get flagged. You can get, you know, whatever, man. I mean, and then you know what, man. Yo, you ever hear, Beyonce, you a man just like me. Hey, you ever be like in a room where there's like men and women, right? And there's always that one guy that's scaring all the women away.
Well, yeah. We've had that on here too many times. And I was
Yeah,
gonna say that, you know, notice how you said, "Oh, start your own channel." It's like,
yeah,
"Oh, well, I could, but no." So, like, it's like, what are you doing, bro?
yeah. And
That makes no sense.
then he said, I'm making money off the vision. I don't make money. I don't make any real money off these TikToks. My last TikTok, I made 5 cents. You know what I'm saying? I don't get the donations like other channels get. I'm up here for the passion. I'm a broadcaster. You know what I'm saying? And then he doesn't know that I do other things on other platforms. Anyway. Person, how you doing, person? You can unmute when you're ready.
I'm okay. Yeah, I already knew what kind of men those were. That's why they got offended by my statement because I said it sounds like a bunch of hurt people that needs therapy. My discernment did not lead me wrong. The sheer fact, regardless of your opinion about TikTok itself or whatever, if a host has rules, it's like their house, and you don't disrespect someone's house or rules, right? It's a very simple context to understand, and someone that is truly coming from a good place would take accountability and not try to deflect and weave and bob and go into other conversations. It is what it is. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. In terms of the prompt, I think that women do get judged more for being single, especially if they are a bit older, right? So when you're younger, you have a little bit more leeway, and people are like, okay, well, you know, waiting for the right one, da da da. But I think once you hit that like 30 mark, then people start looking at you kind of funny. And I think it's heavily tied to like the whole biological thing where like people still want women to like bear kids and all this other stuff, right? Or you're seen as undesirable if you're single, whether you're single by choice or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. Beyond, do you have anything?
Not right at this moment. No.
Okay. So this is almost like a carryover from last week, but a little different. In terms of what's socially acceptable. This is kind of more the topic on this side is that, you know, what one of the things that you'll hear is, hey, you know, fellas, make sure that you the whole get the bag talk, right? When you're young, hey man, don't worry about getting a wife and kids yet. Just get your money up, and then you could get to the point where you want to start a family, right? Because that's going to be the things that he's going to be judged for before he starts a family, right? A woman can be, as long as the man that she's with is financially all right. A woman can have no job and have a kid. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I'm not saying that because I'm mad or anything, but I'm just saying that when a man starts his family, one of the things that's going to be judged first is, okay, well, what kind of money you got? You know?
Right.
So like I said, he's going to be judged more in terms of where his finances are in life before he starts a kid. A woman, it's going to be the age thing. I get it, because if a woman is talking about starting a family at 40, many, not just men, but many women will even tell that woman, dang, you kind of late, So then you also have that as a perspective. You want to answer to that person?
Well, yeah, well, that itself comes from a biological scientific place. Like, you do have harder pregnancies when you're in your 40s, and I think what was the study that, like, your child is more likely to come out with deficiencies, right? So the older you wait, the less efficient your biological stuff works. So that I think itself does play a role into that, and it is a factual thing. I think that if people just stopped trying to fight so hard against what's natural, and we understand that men and women were of different value but equal value. But what that means is we have different currencies, right? So yes, for a woman, her currency is typically her youth. For a man, his currency is typically his finances. And I think, like, society is just trying so hard to say these things aren't true. It's not true. That now, like, we're in this kind of chaos trying to make sense of the lies we've tried to make so hard to be true, if that makes sense.
Actually, makes a lot of sense. And actually, while you were saying that, I have a question that I wanted to move along. So, in y'all's opinion, who do you guys think is punished more socially for failing to fulfill traditional gender roles, men or women?
And are you putting an age frame on it, or just it doesn't matter?
Uh, I guess the age doesn't really matter because, well, I want to get y'all's opinion first, and then I will say why I asked that question while she was talking, because that question did pop in my head just now. Not gonna lie.
Okay, person could go first.
For not fulfilling gender roles, it's gonna be men. A lot of times I feel like men are judged more socially, like if they're not able to provide for their family, or like, so basically, like, y'all get no days off. Kind of thing, which is why I think the judgment is a bit more harsh, right? As well as I do see that there are a lot of women, I don't want to say majority. I don't think I've spoken to enough women to say that, or have done. No, actually, I can't say majority. Well, no, I don't have enough research data to back that up. So I'm just going to say a lot. But a lot of women do want men, when they're in relationship, to operate as a woman, right? Not understanding that men are different. The not really depth, but the volume of conversations are different, and typically your mindset is a bit different, right? Whereas, like, a woman might just be talking to talk to unload, but they're not really talking from an aspect of here's the problem and let's find a solution kind of thing, right? Which is not an easy place for most men to come to, not because they don't have emotions or things like that, But one, they did do a study where they interviewed, I forgot how many men it was, but they interviewed men and they did like this test, and it showed that majority of men in that study, when they were forced to just continue to talk about a subject and there was no actual solution, that those men ended up becoming depressed, right? But a lot of women would want men to engage in conversation like that on a continuous basis and not understanding the effects and impacts that is being placed on those men. And so I think that men are more expected to understand women, and it's rare that women are expected to understand men, right? So yeah, with that, I land.
Yeah, it's
Answer,
definitely
Chris. Did you want to answer that?
it's definitely men. Okay, he's gonna get that judgment from not only just women, but definitely from men as well. I think when it comes to that, men are definitely more. I would say we can definitely be more harsh on ourselves for that. But in some things, maybe rightfully so, in a sense, right? So, a man definitely should be doing his role. I don't care what a woman does. We can't now get off the lose our eyes on the point. If we see women not fulfilling their roles, and then because they're not fulfilling their roles, we're gonna do the same thing. That's not how you do it. You're supposed to be a man regardless. It's like being a man of integrity, right? If everybody else doesn't have integrity, does that mean you don't have integrity too because nobody else does? No, you still have to have that integrity. So I'm just using it as an example. So a man definitely gets judged more for not fulfilling his role, and then I would say rightfully so. Um, but it has to be like this. It's going to be what the role is and how it's defined, not how she defines it. So I don't really go by. A woman can say what she wants about what she thinks a man should be doing. If she's incorrect, she's incorrect. But if she's correct, she's correct. You know. So, but definitely, a man is definitely going to get judged more for not fulfilling his role. Women typically, not all women, but I'll just say in most cases, with modern women, if a woman is not fulfilling her gender role, she's making excuses for, because I'm single and independent, that I got to be masculine before I get a man that's going to make me feminine. Those type of women will protect those women. So women typically don't, amongst each other, really don't catch that heat like that. This is why you got women calling each other pick-me's and all types of stuff, and these would be hardcore feminists at that, who are supposed to be for protecting other women, right? I find it interesting that a feminist would trash another woman for being a traditional woman. Very interesting, but that's something that happens.
Well, to that point, that's why I think that women get judged more because, well, they get judged for the opposite, actually. They get judged for not fulfilling the modern day gender role, and if a woman is a stay-at-home mom, a feminist woman might say, "Oh, she's being controlled by her husband," kind of what you just said. Literally, the movie Barbie. I don't know if you watched it. I watched it. I watched it back when it came out.
Context. You watched it with your lady, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Go
ahead. That's funny. Yeah, I watched it, and literally the first 5 minutes of the movie is, them telling the girls to they're painting a picture of girls don't need to play with Barbie dolls in order to be like a woman. They're trying to redefine the desires and wants of a woman by saying, hey, you don't need to play with Barbie dolls when you're a kid. You can play with action figures like the boys if you want to. They're pretty much trying to rewrite how, because a lot of girls play with Barbie dolls when Literally, Barbie's a very popular and famous thing. It's been around forever. I don't know how long it's been around, but I would assume more than 50 years, right? So, um, there's definitely a psyop to a different kind of programming when women are shaming other women for being traditional, stay at home, working electively instead of having to work, I guess. Um, but in terms of like for not fulfilling, I, I would say it's equal. I would say it's equal because yes, men get clowned if they're not um up to par, or like if they're not the man they should be, and taking care of a woman or whatnot. But women are also clowned for it as well because if a woman, it's kind of like to the prompt itself, like who gets judged more for being single. If a woman isn't traditional woman, right, she's gonna get judged for being single later on because she wasn't traditional when she was younger. Instead of locking that man down, she decided to lock other men down, multiple men, or try to at least, and wasted all of her prime years doing God knows what. And now she's 32, 33 years old, single, right? I think that it's equal in that sense. It just looks different. The optics will say men, but if you analyze it and break it down, it's actually like, on paper, 50-50.
Beyond the, I so maybe that may lead to another point, and I did kind of bring that point up, so it's kind of like my thing there. So maybe it's kind of hard to say if it's more because regardless if this is regardless if this is back in the day or now, men are still being judged if they're not doing the things that men are perceived to be assigned to do. So, um, and what I'm saying is that he'll get that judgment from women and men.
But he'll get it
Um,
up front. He'll get it up front though.
yeah,
Men
he'll
receive
get it up
all of
front.
their
Yeah,
men get their critique all up front, all at once. Women get theirs, they'll get a little bit when they're younger, but not a lot, so they'll be coddled or whatever. But then they'll get a lot of judgment later on in life. So
yeah.
in the end, she's receiving the same amount of judgment as the guy, just not all at once. If that makes any sense.
Hey, Beyonda, could that be because in her younger years, her candidates of men who have been trying to quote unquote save her, um, if she hasn't locked down on a man in an earlier age, of the men who, I mean, we can call them simp suckers, whatever. Um, when she gets to the point where now she's like 50 and up, and now that's probably when the judgment comes, when you could say from 20 to 50, if she would at least married one of those guys, that she that she probably would have skated through a little bit in terms of living the way she could live.
Well, I mean, well, yes. So the way that life is lived now, right? It's lived as, essentially nothing is enough, right? You can never settle for the bare minimum. So if a guy is making 100K, 200K, I mean, that would be freaking amazing for a woman to have in her life, right? But the problem is that her options are there's so many options, right? That her highest option is definitely going to be more than 200K. So she's not going to necessarily want to go for that guy until she's in her 30s. But at that point, he's already married and has someone in his life. So the problem is the kind of options a woman has, whether she's average or, above average, there's way too many to choose from. And so she's going to go for whatever option's the best.
Hmm. Wait, what's everyone's take on the prompts, men or women? What do you think, Diamond?
Oh, yeah, we already answered it earlier. I said woman. Fifth, did you say women or men for being single? I think you said men, right? I think he must have walked
Yo,
away.
Persona, what was your
Mr.
response? You're on mute.
think they walked away for a little bit, but Mr. Apple, you can go ahead and answer if you want.
I was gonna say men, but looks like everyone's gone.
You can elaborate on that. Why do you think that men get judged more?
I'll come back.
Okay.
He wanted to argue. I was in no way, shape, or form about to argue with him. Yeah, that's why he fixated on the only woman that had like a vocal cord. I'm telling you, I'm really good at judging. Like, oh, I know when to be quiet.
Fair enough. That's fair. Yeah, makes sense.
It's very unfortunate because I don't think these kinds of prompts need to turn into like a divisive kind of topic, right? We can just have an honest conversation and try to understand where each other is coming from. It's just unfortunate that a lot of people are addicted to chaos. They're addicted to that adrenaline that comes when they're in a state of disagreement, right? And proving that they're right, and getting that sort of like validation and all of that good stuff. Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's the nature of living life nowadays. I mean, look at journalism. Journalism used to be, authentic to a degree, and now it's all about who's first. So that's kind of like bled into how we discuss life now, is that people who, get into debates, average people, even if they're not even educated, if they have a belief system and someone goes against that belief, now it's met with hostility. And that's the reality of, conversating in today's world. Where before, when you have a conversation, your goal is to get to a solution, not necessarily to make a point. But even that has changed. I mean, even in the political landscape of it, I watched the whole debate with Obama, and it was very respectful. I forget who was debating. I forget who it was, but it was a while ago, back in 08 or 07, I think. And it just, the dynamic of talking to people is different. People want to, the social media is essentially a echo chamber of everyone's opinions. They hear from someone or somewhere, and they're gonna repeat it on TikTok. And if you don't like it, then they're gonna, they don't have the intelligence to substantiate their claim, so they're going to then be argumentative about it rather than have an actual argument.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I'm gonna just say this person. TikTok is a strange place. I was really hesitant when I started my account on here. When I first started a TikTok account, it was I didn't do any lives. I just reposted my podcast content. I didn't start doing lives until this year, and I started to. I was on other people's lives, and it was just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I mean, there was no decorum. People were yelling and screaming over each other. You couldn't even hear what people were saying. It wasn't within the format of doing an actual program. When I come up here and I do lives, I like to do it like an actual show where people could speak and then they can have their turn, they can retort. Look, nobody has to always agree with anything anyone's saying. Just like me, I'm the host. Everybody don't got to agree with me. But if you disagree, we just have to do it respectfully, and you cheat the audience when you have a screaming match, and then it's like, we're adults. Last time I checked, we're adults up here. We can handle ourselves with some class. I don't mind the banter, you know what I mean? If it's a intense back and forth, I mean, it may get a little heated, but just understand at the end of the day, just at least have some common decency, you know what I mean? I respect the passion. I do, but it's like, and I get it. The chaos is what makes money. Some of the most chaotic lives on here make a lot of, get the most donations. They have they're recommended on the For You page. I mean, it's crazy, you know, but it is what it is. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to come up here and allow what things happen on other panels here. I'm not going to do that. Even if I only have for the remainder of the year 5 to 10 consistent listeners, I'm not changing that. You know, and I'll use it until I'm, you know, I could always leave TikTok and not do anything on TikTok. I come from YouTube first, so it's whatever.
And you though, that's not something that a lot of people have in them, is to not change for a monetary gain. Um, because I've definitely seen a few content creators on here that I'm like, at this point, I don't think you believe in anything that goes on in your life. Like one day you're this, one day you're that. It's kind of like I don't really understand it.
Yeah, you know, and for me, I do content creation, but content creation is not it is not my life. Like I could not do any of this. You know what I mean? Because I don't make money off of. I've been podcasting for years. I've been internet radio prior to that in the late 2000s, as far as like, you know, 08, 09. So I'm someone who does this for the passion. You know what I'm saying? So uh, I mean, if I wanted to, I'd be like, all right, you know, thanks for, you know, supporting me this year on TikTok. I'm not going to do any more lives, and I would live life just fine. But for some people, this is their life, and so they're willing to sacrifice their souls for it. Sadly.
Um,
But yeah,
my
go ahead,
bad.
Beyond. If you want to get back to
My
the
bad.
topic,
I
I was
walked
just
away for a little bit,
okay.
came back. I'm looking at my cousin's question. Um,
Yeah.
what is the modern day gender role for men and women? Um, Good question. Well, maybe this answer I'm about to say it's biased. Maybe it is, and if it is, that's fine, I guess, because I see it from my point of view. Of course, I'm just seeing how a lot of guys, you know, are treated for not being a quote unquote man. And I would just say that the modern day gender role for a man is to essentially acquiesce to a woman's plight. That's what I think. Um, and then I would say, as far as women today, women,
Wait, can you repeat that? I don't think I understood.
I would say that a man's gender role is to essentially acquiesce to the woman's wants, pretty much.
Oh, yeah. But I
Um,
wouldn't. Sorry, go ahead. Then when you're done, I have a rebuttal.
yeah, sure. And then because if men don't do anything a woman wants, then or speak to a woman a certain way, then then insert buzzword, you know. Um, and I would say that in terms of like being traditional, men are closer to that than women are today. A lot of women have deviated away from traditionality and in whole, I would say, and so they're pretty much doing whatever they want, or whatever they feel, I guess. So that's my answer. Maybe that isn't the right answer, but that's the answer that I think it is. And if anyone has a rebuttal or a different point of view, then of course, I'm receptive to hearing that. But I think that from what I've seen over the past like 7, 8 years, I would say that's what it is.
And I
JC, oh my bad. JC, pull up. I see you in the comments. Yeah, go ahead, person.
so do they know how to join?
He's joining.
Oh, okay. So I wouldn't say you're wrong. But I would say that this goes back to something that Fifth said. That's a dangerous place to live as a society. I say this all the time. One, women are more hormonal and we are more emotional. That's just our biology. If with that being said, a lot of times that does mean that there's going to be decisions made that's based on feelings. You cannot live life that way. That's a very dangerous place to live life. So I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I'm going to say the ideology that has been developed in the modern time is wrong. I think that's why society is so chaotic now, is because men have listened to women for so long, telling them the wrong things. Now we have people identifying as deers and getting pew-pewed in the woods. It's no, no, no. And I land.
Before I answer, I'm gonna let JC talk. JC, what up, brother?
How you doing, my good man?
Hey
Hello,
man,
and thank you for
th-
allowing me to enter onto your platform.
hey, thanks for coming on, man. You've been in the comments, you've supported the channel. Thanks for coming on the panel. I think you know what? I think you actually been on here one time, right? And talked.
Nah.
Nah.
My cousin he's been trying to get me on here, but I just like
Okay.
to listen. I like to listen.
Hey man, I appreciate you coming up here, brother. Man, you could do two things. You could speak to the prompt and then speak to your own question. You can do whatever you want. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna speak to my question because it just comes from a point of curiosity to what you all spoke on earlier. To me, I feel like the gender roles have been changing, and I put the sparkles because we're in a time and place where we have sparkly men, and that's removing from the rest of us. So the roles are indeed changing, and that's what I mainly wanted to just see what you all would have to say about that. And it helps. It helps also having a lady here to also speak on what goes on within their world, because as men we're still blind to that. And I just wanted to just kind of put that question out there because I felt like it would really create some good conversation just to build off. I land.
So JC, so okay, I'm gonna respond now. So I mentioned earlier that in today's time you will find more women. Maybe I didn't use these words, but I mentioned the traditional. How you'll have so-called hardcore feminists that will bash the traditional woman, right? And what I forgot to say beyond it is, in America, it's perceived that the traditional woman is now the minority. She's not the majority. So being that she's not the majority, because that's how it's perceived, there are more women that will protect a woman for not doing her traditional role and making excuses for why she is not traditional. But men, you don't have a large community of men giving other men a pass for not being men. You know what I'm saying? You'll find women, and this is another thing to a woman to women's downfall. You'll find a lot of women that will actually defend the men who who don't want to be men no more. And they'll shut the men up who have been speaking against that, if that makes sense. Like we talked earlier, when it comes to, it's the whole don't judge him thing, right? Oh, don't judge him, right? Okay. But then said women will complain and say, where the real men at? And it's like, well, we were trying to create real men, but y'all were getting in the way, you know? So then we have that situation. You know, it's almost like, and speaking to a person's comment earlier, she said that men still have to do everything, and women could just do what they feel. And we have that community that will protect said woman. You know, so the modern woman is growing. Now, to be fair, the modern man is growing too, but then what actually is the modern man? You know, they'll say the modern man is a man who is 50-50, but guess what? He still has to do the man duties. If something go bump in the night, he got to go to the door. He still got to hold doors. He still got to be chivalrous. That doesn't stop because because he lives in 2026. There are a lot of things that men still have to do, should be doing, and like I said, I ain't mad at that. But when we get into the conversation of what a woman should be doing, then that's where things get offensive. But it wasn't offensive when the man was being told what he should be doing.
Right. And I would say that would explain why a lot of guys are choosing to be bachelors over being married. We're seeing the childbirth rate go down, and more children out of wedlock and less marriages, because a lot of guys are seeing that no matter what they do, whether they are average and make 75K, or they're trying their best in a world where the economy is so incredibly bad, it's impossible to meet unrealistic expectations of yourself whenever you're being compared to someone. You're being compared to someone that is just in a different ball game than you are, And unfortunately, a lot of women, not speaking from anecdotal experience, because I don't have that problem with my fiance, which is fine. I definitely feel the pressure as a man, but not that much pressure. And that just adds a whole new level of pressure on an average man, because average men, it's not impossible, but you gotta play a game of numbers. Not everyone can be well off in life. That's not how life is. You're not gonna have everyone reach a certain level of like 100K, 200K, 300K plus. You're not gonna have that. It's not how life is done. And it never has been. Not if everyone can be rich, why isn't everyone rich? That's kind of like how that's how I'm thinking about it. And so when men are being compared or being held to that standard because women one day last year in the summer of 25, they experienced someone who gave them a nice experience, and they come home, they find a guy and say, hey, now they're holding that guy to that standard, and that's the problem. A lot of guys are not meeting the woman's standard, which happens to be extremely high. And so, it just, and you know what? I agree with that, most don't have that mindset. That's totally true. But there's so many factors into it. And a lot of people tend to forget that it's spiritual, like all the way through and through, even down to like the government, it's the enemy's job to keep people psyoped and focus on sports and things that really don't freaking matter. Like none of that stuff matters. Even movies, like none of that. That's all part of programming and getting people in a place where they're comfortable and they don't want to work to a higher level of themselves. Because if that's the case, then that would mean the world becomes better, and they don't want the world to become better. And that's why most of the world is complacent. And, me and my friend Spicy Ranch were talking about it, Fifth. Think of it like this, right? Do you know that we became America because our tea was overpriced? Right? There were people back then that fought and shed blood over tea. And here we are in 2026. Children are being kidnapped and, things are being done to them and, transgender, whatever you want to say, right? The ABC community. And we're not fighting at all. Then no one cares. That's part of the programming. That's the psyop that I'm talking about. There's people who are so you can look in the news and see kids things happen to kids all the time, and no one cares. So yeah, that's my point of view on it, and women are going to have their expectations. Men are not going to reach those expectations, and it's going to be a disconnect in your average man and average woman.
And the problem is that the average woman thinks she deserves an above average man when that is not the case. First of all, the qualities it takes to date an above average man starts with having emotional discipline. A lot of women, I would dare to step out on a ledge and say a majority of women do not have emotional discipline. It's all about what makes them feel good, right? And if it doesn't make them feel good, they don't have the discipline to withstand it. They don't have the discipline to say, I accept my feelings. Maybe I'm not in the right emotional state to make a decision right now. So I will come back to this later, or I will defer this to my partner, right? That doesn't exist. So what you have is people that, if given access to an above average man, would run him into the ground because he's not able to focus on the success, on vision, on anything like that, because he constantly have to be worried about emotionally regulating another grown human being. And with that, I land.
If I may, to carry on what she just landed on, which was amazing, by the way. Right now, I'm at this men's conference for the church organization that I'm in. And one thing that they always emphasize is how important it is for the woman of God that they are with to be led by God, because it creates a spiritual discernment within their emotions that allows them to understand what is needed. So that way both sides, I apologize for the noise in the background. So that way both sides have communication, which creates a much healthier, obligation towards each other. So that way it's not always negative. But the way they be talking about their wives when they get up there with the mic, to the fragrance in the room, to the love of my life, it takes time and appreciation to get to those points. So I really commend you for bringing that up.
I want to speak to a person's point about the average woman. Most women do not believe that they are average. So this is why they have that thing about how they should be with above average men, because they actually think they're on that man's level. So a woman I've heard many women say, I need a man on my level. Then when you ask them, what man is that? Oh, they will describe a man who's, a gem, a diamond, and all these other things. Meanwhile, she's not even nowhere close to that. She'll say everything that he is and what they expect him to be, and she doesn't even measure up even a fraction to that, because most women do not believe that they are average, and they will tie it to many things. They will say, oh, well, I'm not average because I have a PhD, right? Oh, I'm not average because I have now in terms of a collegiate level, yeah, most people don't have PhDs, so we could probably say, oh, okay, whatever. But what that man is looking for in a wife and what's going to make you a good wife is not going to be your degree. That has nothing to do with that. What kind of person are you? Are you someone who's respectful? Are you kind? Are you sharing? Are you pleasant to be around? You know, those things are going to matter more than you going to school. You got women out here like Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, who calls herself a doctor, whatever. She's about as much as a doctor as Dr. Dre is. But, she believes because of those accomplishments that she is entitled to the best man on the planet. But her behavior is stank, and, her relationship results are the way they are because of the way she behaves. But she'll say that men are intimidated by her accomplishments. No, especially when we find out that your accomplishment was not an accomplishment at all. You're a doctor because you have a DBA and an LLC. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I digress.
To add to what you said, like, as men, and I don't mean to say it in like a disrespectful tone, like, we don't really care about what degrees you have. Like, we will support you in any ways. We're always going to be there to hype you up. So you go get that degree, but as a man, our prioritization is to take care of you and provide. That's like our instinctual nature is to provide and look out for you, the family, yada, yada, yada. And I land.
Yeah, I wanted to. Oh, go ahead, person. You go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that all of this is because of the tyranny of the new wave of feminist movement, which somehow are for women, but also want men in women's restroom because they felt like a woman today. I'm not getting on that subject. I'm just saying, and also the same women that are saying women should have the right to do any job when we know they don't want to do every job. But if you tell them that they can't do that job, then they get mad. And it's like, bro, but you didn't want to do it in the first place. So why are you mad when someone stated a fact that the average man can lift more than the average woman? That's just science. That's not anything to do with whatever. They like to bring up, well, if a woman spends time in the gym and does bodybuilding, that's not average. Are we having critical, logical conversations now? And this comes up a lot when we speak about certain fields, such as like the oil rigs, or we talk about trucking or different areas and avenues where we see that these are still predominantly led by men on a vast, large scale, and that there are women that just don't want to do it. But if you tell women that they can't do it, then they get mad. The fact that you're telling them they can't do something then they had no interest in doing in the first place. It's very childlike. It's like taking a toy away from a child, even though the child didn't play with it. But just because you're taking it away, that's now validation for them to throw a tantrum. And I land.
Hey, Beyond the Man, you could have any question right now. I got to go on mute for a second. Okay, you there? Beyond.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. I'm gonna go on mute for a second, man. I'm trying to get ready for work. All right, I'll be back.
For sure. Okay. So I guess my question is, we're gonna focus on the men, right? Is why do you guys think that men put up with the bad behaviors of women, even though they know that it's not right?
Hey, real quick, because I'm not talking about me. but because let's just be real, we want to clap cheeks. All
Right.
right,
Pure
I'm
ignorance
gonna
is
go on
what
mute.
leads us to the downfall. Right.
Yes, and so the sexual discipline, which is harder for men, does l- allow some of the bad behaviors in societies. That's a very big part of it. Um, the second part of it is because everything is expected of a man, right? Everything is seen as like the bare minimum. So you don't get that sense of appreciation and value as a woman does, right? And so like they're continually trying to prove their worth, and typically how that's done is by being able to gain access to different levels of women, or what they perceive that level to be, right? Most men in their older age, they learn through trial and error, and they're like, okay, well, regardless of what she looks like, what her personality and all this other stuff, her behaviors are more important. But that's not something that's taught from a young age. And so essentially, a lot of men do end up chasing that aesthetically pleasing woman, right? But she's rotten on the inside. So all of her bad behaviors are seemingly okay when they're not okay.
Right. And on the flip side, when we're talking about the expectations of women nowadays, right? And how a lot of average women don't consider themselves average. Um, when do you guys think that started? And why do you think it's such a problem where why when did it start, you think? And why is it such a phenomenon now where just a bunch of women are going for high status guys rather than dealing with who's in front of them?
I think it started with feminism. That's why I'm anti-feminist. It's done little good for society. If anything, it's ripped families apart. It's given them more an excuse to just leave whenever they feel like it. Um, it has, because you're ripping families apart, now you have like broken children that turn into broken adults that have like a skewed perspective on relationships and things like that. And most people don't go through therapy or through any internal, like just on their own journey to kind of evaluate that and heal from it. And so it becomes a perpetual cycle. Then woven into that, it's a sense of you can never have anything bad to say about a woman, even if that's factual or not, right? Because then you're seen as anti-woman. So we're kind of forced to support a delusion. Now you can't call somebody FAT when if you FAT, you FAT. But now that's what body shaming, right? Um, it's just yes. Long story short, feminism.
I would say that it started when pictures were starting to be taken, or like when they started to create different kinds of dress. Um, it's a game. It's a challenge. What do they call it? It's like a race, and it's always to see who is better. And that's why we can never be like on the same plane, because it's always a competition.
I don't think it started with the dress though, because based on back in the day when everything was truly divided by socioeconomics, people had like hard lines in the sand where they knew, like, oh, I couldn't gain access to this kind of woman and da 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 da. Even men, right? It was very frowned upon if the woman they were dating came from a less than desirable family background, right? And even though like the woman herself may not have had a job because she couldn't, the worth of her family was considered her worth. And once you stepped out of that arena, like everybody kind of shamed you for it, right? If you had enough power and you have had enough resources, you were able to like bypass or withstand like those judgment. But they were always making different kind of articles of clothing to demonstrate elitism and whatever. And people understood like if you dressed a certain way, you were worth a certain amount. Whereas now, that's no longer the case. You have people rocking Gucci purses without 50 cents in that purse. What was the point of buying that purse, right? So I think it's the access to a lot of things that were once inaccessible, that gives people the illusion that they're of a higher class than they actually are.
Let me take it from a dating perspective, right? If we're talking, so beyond that, I may not be able to tell you where it started, but I could just at least just speak to the whole entitlements part, right? Let's say a woman just so happens to, she goes from dating the average guy, who's able to afford, your Applebee's, your Chili's, your TGI Fridays, right? So then now the next man she gets with, he's taking her to, let's see, Steak 48, Capitol Grill, Noble. So then now, Ruth Chris. So then now she feels like, well, I've arrived. And from now on, the only guys I'm going to date are the men who's going to take me to Steak 48, Capitol Grill. Then now she's going to Salt Bay's restaurant, right?
Right.
The man that she's with now he's buying tomahawk steaks with the steaks with the gold flakes on top of it.
Yeah.
So then now she thinks that's the man that she's supposed to have from now on, right?
That's similar to what Candy was saying too.
Yeah, because that's her mentality, right?
And Candy, she was saying that, the guys she was dating originally were the kind of guys that were taking her out on Applebee's and whatever. And she put up with that for a long time. And then she raised her standards, and all of a sudden, a lot of guys with money just came her way, I guess. I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, nothing is wrong with wanting more, to a degree, right? But people don't carry material. This is what I'll say, right? This is what Johnny Depp said. This is the only thing that I can quote for him, right? He said, money doesn't change you, it reveals you, right? So once you ask for more and you get more, okay, cool, you have more. What kind of person are you with it? You know what I'm saying? And so, like, in my humble opinion, when women have more and they have like what they want, and I'm not talking about like, like for example, like my fiance wants me, right? But I'm not rich, right? What I'm saying about when I say when they get what they want, I'm talking about material, right? When they get the material stuff, they're not the best people. You know what I mean? They don't handle even when they're leaders. When a woman is leading, she isn't a good person because the dynamic is flipped. Men are supposed to be the ones to provide and protect. And so if men aren't the ones making the money, and the woman's making the money and bringing home all the money and stuff like that, and the man's making a lot less, she's going to essentially, maybe not at first, it might not be the first month, second month, not even that whole year, right? But she will eventually begin to emasculate that man for not making the money that she makes. That's going to happen eventually. Whereas a man will never look down on a woman for not making that much,
Well, Well, yes, if he got with her in the context that she was already making less money than him to begin with, yeah, that's not necessarily going to change. But I hear what you're saying about, depending on the woman when she got with the man. I get what you're saying. But go ahead, person. You said objection.
Yes, I don't appreciate you attacking the women species like that. That's but it is true. But it is true. I just didn't appreciate it. You were a little you're too blunt with it. You could have said it a bit nicer.
It,
Well,
it, it, it sounds
I
it
have,
sounds better coming
I
from you,
have,
right?
I have 4 sisters, so you know,
It sounds better coming from person. Person was going in. You know what I mean?
I have, I
I was
have 4
being
sisters,
funny.
and obviously they're all different and stuff. But I'm not saying that me having sisters makes me like a person that understands women to a T. But I understand them pretty well, and I just know that like if a woman is the one leading the relationship or the marriage, he might not treat him bad at first, but eventually she will become a really insufferable person and be ugly. Eventually, it might last the marriage 10 years. She will eventually become a bad person. It's just bound to happen because women are not. They don't have the endurance or the durability to provide for the family because they know that it should be the other way around.
So it's going against nature.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. It's unfortunate, but we've heard like countless stories of couples that start out making, and of course this has happened with the man too. He makes his bag and then he's like, yo, you weren't the kind of woman I wanted to begin with. You were just the kind of woman that I could get at the time. So I get it happens. But speaking on what you said, we've also heard stories of husbands that have put their wives through school, nursing school. I don't know. I think if you want to be a nurse, run. It's coming. I'm kidding, but maybe not. And so like she graduates and now like she's
Travel
out.
nurse, definitely run.
But she graduates and now all of a sudden the same man that stuck by her and that supported her dream and her ambitions and her goals, that man she feels like no longer deserves her, which is a wild ideology. But it does happen a lot where when women out earn the men that those leadership roles, and you'll see this a lot. Like if you do a prompt and says, does a man have the final say regardless of income? You'll see a lot of people say, a lot of women say no. If I'm making more than him and I am in control of the finances, why does he deserve to have the final say of the house?
Oh, that's happened up here. Beyond the nose.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So and that just speaks the mentality that there is a connection between who's essentially maintaining the financial structure of the home and what women believe that comes with, right? But because it's not a natural thing for either smexes, it causes a bit of conflict and chaos. Spicy says, "Oh boy." What does oh boy mean, Spicy? Would you like to come up and explain?
He might be talking about the Cameron song, Oh Boy.
Oh boy. Bye, bye, bye.
Oh, so it's interesting because when we talk about who gets judged more for being single, right? I put in the context of age thing, but here's the thing. That's when I didn't ask this part of the question. Does that judgment now change when you're somebody who's been divorced, kids? What happens then, right? That may change the topic a little bit, but let's just say you're a man you've been married before. You're divorced at 30, right? Versus a woman who's been divorced at 40, right? Or no, let's keep it the same age to be fair. So you got a single man who's in his 30s now. He was divorced at 30. Single woman who's in her 30s now, who was divorced at 30. How is that judged?
I would say that statistically, women have a much harder time finding a guy after marriage than men do. He won't be judged the same because if a woman if they have a kid, oh yeah, it's gonna be definitely harder for her. Now, if they're divorced at 30, I mean, depending how long they're married for, I mean, you can say that they might not have a kid at that age yet. She might have a chance, I guess. But if she is divorced at 30 with a kid or two kids or whatever, or a kid but it was one kid, I guess, right? That will definitely make it more difficult. But I will say this, if she's 30 years old, there's a chance because of the fact that um she's not completely undesirable because her age isn't um it's a good age to continue and find someone new, I guess. It's harder when you're 35, 40. Like, the more the higher the number goes up, the harder it is, right? So her being divorced at 30 with a kid with the man, yeah, definitely difficult, but not impossible. Damn near, but not all the way impossible, I'd say. But she'll be judged more than the man is for sure, because the man will have an easier time finding another woman, um, in a serious context. I'm not talking about recreational or clapping cheeks. I'm saying like a man has a better chance of finding someone to marry again, and the woman does not have the same chances.
Yeah, I think it's women too. Because it's a high indicator that she's a flight risk. What did they say? 80% of divorces are initiated by women. That's a high number. And I'm not a man, but if I was a man and she's like, yeah, I'm divorced, I'm running. Like, cause it's a 80% chance that you did it. So, I'm not, and when you look at the studies and you dive into it, it actually says that majority of people blame their spouse for the divorce. Not a lot of people, more so women than men, but I said that very softly. Y'all don't bring that up. But not a lot of people, more so women than men, can take accountability for their involvement in the destruction of a relationship, right? Not everything is a non-negotiable. Not everything is a make or break moment. I'm not happy today is not a reason, or even I'm not happy this year. First of all, happiness is an internal job that you should not be outsourcing to other people. That's the first problem. But that goes back to the emotional discipline that I was talking about earlier. So like a lot of women will say, my partner isn't making me happy. Nobody should be responsible for your own happiness. There are things that your partner can do to influence it, but at the end of the day, if your sole source of happiness comes from another human being, you are going to be disappointed for life. And that's why you see a lot of miserable people walking around here. But yeah, but if it's I think it's women, just based on those points.
JC, did you want to provide your 2 cents?
Nah, I'm good because like y'all, we've been doing a great. I'm gonna be honest, Fifth. This is one of the most productive podcasts that you had in a minute.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Last Thursday was nuts.
Oh my,
That was like
oh
one
my,
of the craziest. That's one of the craziest panels I've been a part of, and I've been doing his show since January.
my goodness.
And that was wild. That was absolutely insane.
Oh, y'all want me to bring out my alternate person? Got you. I heard you. I heard y'all. Y'all wanted some friction. What y'all in here talking about women like that for? Huh? Y'all got mommy issues? Y'all got mommy issues? That's what y'all got. Y'all. That's why y'all don't like women so much. Y'all got mommy issues.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
What? It was missing a little spice.
We would. You know what? That would happen quite often at times too. Somebody would
Quite
definitely
often.
come up here and do that. And you know what's interesting? And you know what?
Depending who it is, man. Yeah, bro.
Right. And you know what's interesting, right? So you know how like some people will say, where you get your where do you hear these women that talk such a way, right? And I don't even have to really go that far. I'll just say, well, just right on this on my panel, I've heard such a women say such things, right? Like Beyonce, you mentioned when like women will come up here. I kid you not, and maybe person you've probably was on one of the panels where this happened. We've had women come on this panel and bring up their income. We didn't ask. We didn't ask. But they would bring up they would talk about how men have ego issues with money and this, that, and the third, and dating a woman who makes more money than them. Meanwhile, coming up here, bragging about the money they make and putting down men who don't make the money that they make. But the ego is his fault? The math ain't mathing.
Yeah, whatever panel that was with Candy, it was, was it the late night one that it was?
Nah, that was in the afternoon. She was on the show she was on basically the whole show. She stood 10 toes down. I had to give her respect at least.
Respect to a degree, sure.
Right. Not her points, but she was honest, and her honesty was so brutal to the point where it needed to be said because it basically showed what's out there.
Yeah, in that sense, sure, she gets respect for that. But at the same time, like you said, she was definitely seeped in this hypocritical cycle where she was saying, "Oh, money isn't everything," but then she's leading with the fact that she makes $200K a year, and it's pretty much saying that guys have to be on that level, if not more. She said that at least twice in that whole conversation. So that was interesting to hear her say that, and then go back and say, "Oh, well, money isn't all of that." And if you lead with money, then that's bad. But then she was saying that. But then we were like, how would I prove to you I have money without leading with money? She wasn't providing any examples. She was basically saying that all the guys that she deals with, like, they buy her gas and whatever, and pay for her dinner, all that stuff.
Well, she says she demands the gas. First of all, there was another woman who was up here, and actually she was the one who listed her income. It actually wasn't Candy. Another woman did that because she was agreeing with Candy, and she talked about that she makes $300,000 a year. Right? She was talking about men's egos, right? And how men can't handle this and how men can't handle that. Meanwhile, she came up here talking about how much money she makes and says that it's a problem for her because she needs to get with a man who makes more money than her, because when she dated a man who had less money than her, then it was a problem. And then when she went into why it was a problem, I'm like, well, it sounds like you're the one that has the problem, not him. You know what I mean? Because that's not a man that you're proud of. A lot of times, and this may be a different subject, a lot of times when a woman get with a man, when they talk amongst their friend circle, women are not going to ask, what does he look like? Usually that's men talk with each other with the when a man is talking about his woman. You know, we're going to be like, yo, she look good, blah, 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 right? Usually when women are talking amongst their circle, they're going to be like, well, what does he do for a living? So if what does he do for a living is not, marketable, then that's not something they're going to be proud of. Like when a woman is dating a doctor, they will scream that to the moon. Yes, he's a doctor, girl. He's a surgeon, girl. He's an architect. Now, if he works at McDonald's and he's doing the fries, she's not going to be like, girl, he work at McDonald's. Now, if he owns a McDonald's, that's different. You know what I'm saying? But if he's cooking the fries, they ain't about to talk about that. They're hoping that the woman is not even asking what he does for a living. But that's typically what women do amongst themselves. They'll say, what does he? Oh, he sounds like a good guy. What does he do? Right? As whereas with us, we'll be like, oh, that sounds like a good woman. What she look like? Just keep it real.
The funny thing is, a lot of men in both those fields, they're womanizers.
Right.
I'm not gonna hold you. I know this from firsthand experience. And I grew up so my cousin is kind of like my brother. And we grew up. I have a younger brother, but he's like way younger than me. I was like, Mom, you're gluttonous for punishment. Like you raised all of us and you turned around and you said, let's do this again now that everybody's all gone. So I grew up more so with my cousin. And so I was always around a lot of men, and it was very fascinating. I felt like, what's that guy that was like in the nature, like observing, like, you know what I mean? It was crazy. But yeah, they're older now, like way older. But their younger days, yeah, they would have, it was just crazy. Like I would see women in rotation, like legit in the same day. I would see about 3 different women, like, and they all thought I was the only one, the love of my life. I was like, yo, this is scary.
Yeah. Yeah, but women want men that other women want. I mean, let's just keep it real. Women are not trying to go after men that don't know women want.
Um, Not necessarily. I mean, most women, yes. I'll say most women, yes.
There you go. There you go.
Most women, yes.
Yeah.
So,
You may be very special, but you know how it is. You know how it is.
I
Sadly.
know I'm special. That's so sweet. But yeah, what other people want is like inconsequential to me. It has nothing to do with like the preference, but I will say that yes, most women do want the guy that everybody else wants, because it does feed her ego when she feels chosen by that man, right? It's kind of like a aha, I'm better than you kind of moment. But then it's problematic I think today's women are just so confused, right? So they'll have a problem with a guy playing a video game. But I'm like, at least he's not outside. I mean, what he gonna do? Cheat with AI robots? You know, maybe his gaming part. I don't, like, you know what I mean? So, but then like women will complain about cheaters, and it's just like I don't think the core things that people should be focusing on are being focused on. I think a lot of things are like demonized, right? Which aren't necessarily bad things. People don't oftentimes focus on the character of a man. Watch him very carefully how he speaks, because how he speaks about things gives you a true insight to his heart, right? And you can watch for inconsistencies. You can watch for a demeaning, condescending qualities. You can watch for a lot of negative things that oftentimes turns out to be a bad guy. He will show you. A man that leads with his money is showing you that he believes you can be bought. And if he believes you can be bought, more times than not, he feels like you are an object. And an object is only as good so long as it is useful. So when people say, oh, he changed, and like we go through the scenarios, I'm like, I don't really think he changed. I think he just stopped being walking on around eggshells with you because you've already shown him that you can be bought. But then you're going to turn around and complain that you feel like anytime you tell him there's a problem, he throws gifts or money at you. But that has been the dynamic of your relationship to begin with, right? So if you're expecting a man to lead with his money and give you all you got, you should understand that there are certain qualities that come with those type of men. And there's a difference with a man spending money on you to show you that he appreciates you and he values you, and a man that's trying to buy you. A lot of people don't know the different characteristics that's in those two, right? And that's why when we have the conversations, is coffee date a date, it stirs up this, like, first of all, don't take me to go drink coffee because I don't drink coffee. And if you're taking me a coffee date, that means you don't know me and we have no business going on a date in the first place. But if you were to say shakes, or probably not shakes unless I'm on my cycle, but if you were to say like a smoothie date, then that's different. But I think a lot of times people feel like, what? I like smoothies. I don't like coffee. If you don't know that I don't like coffee, you don't know enough about me to like me, to want to take me on a date. That means that anything to do with me is purely on a surface level, which is not worth my time in pursuing and leaving my house to even expand and see where that goes.
Person,
Right?
can we be a little fair? Can we be a little fair? Okay. So I love smoothies is not written on your forehead, right?
That's why you asked me.
Okay, but at that point, is there a number exchange? Because I would like to think that person that what's up, Kay? I would like to think that the interest. I would think that there's got to be an interest between you and that guy up front before you ever get to the point of giving out a number and having a conversation. And then I'm pretty sure you have a marker on how long a guy should be talking to you on the phone before he actually asks you out on a date. I don't know what that is. You can share that if you want. But I do understand that asking questions things and getting to know things. I'm not knocking that part. I guess I was trying to figure out what's the difference between a coffee date and a smoothie date. I guess that would be for you differently because one woman may say that the smoothie date is not a date at all, right? Or corny, but to you it's not corny, you know. So I was just
But
trying to figure out the difference. But I mean, you kind of explained it because you said that the smoothie would work because that means that there was some type of conversation in terms of knowing at least what it is about you before he asked you out.
correct. So I look for someone that's observant. I value that quality so much, but also observant and considerate. Um, and when people tailor dates to me, that gives me a higher gauge of, okay, they have this quality, than if they're just doing like generic stuff, right? Because in my eyesight, if you're doing generic stuff with me, it doesn't necessarily have to be me that's here on this date. It's an indicator that you want somebody, but it's not an indicator that you want me, right? But if you're like asking me questions, because that's going to come up in conversation or whatever, and that should be on the first. If you don't know anything about me when we first meet, why are we talking? Like, why are we exchanging numbers? Like, what is the, if you didn't notice anything and all you noticed was hi, beautiful, I'm sorry, you're not getting my number.
Yeah, but that's the first thing. But person, the first thing a person sees, especially if it's in the streets. We're not talking about like a dating app where you may have a bio and you may have like targeted questions and answers prior to him swiping left or right. We're talking about you're at Walmart. He comes up to you or whatever store you're at. I don't know where you at, but whatever store you're at, all he sees is what you look like. And let's just keep it real. I mean, I don't know what you look like by your profile, but let's just say you look good, right? Respectfully, let's just say you look good. You got, you in the store or the mall, whatever you is, and he sees, all the figures, right? Whatever figures you got, he sees all the figures. On your forehead is not written "I like smoothies."
No,
So,
it's not written. I like smoothies. I apologize, but go ahead.
well, I mean, you're not talking out of turn. You can go ahead and respond. I was just trying to.
What
I
I'm
was just
saying
yeah.
is that first interaction, if he's not trying to really figure anything out rather than hi, beautiful, we don't have anything else to talk about. Like, if you're not trying to gauge something, I'm very expressive in my outfits when I go out. That's just the type of person I'm expressive in general. You will always know when I'm upset. You will always know when I'm happy. You never have to guess my moods. You don't have to guess a lot of things about me. So if he has that first interaction and takes nothing away from it other than I'm beautiful, we're already off to a bad start because you're not observant. And I just told you that's the quality that I desire in a partner. Is it clicking?
I mean, let me let other people retort to it. Go ahead, JC, and then I'm gonna get to Taylor.
I'm not finna retort no more. I just have to say thank you so much for the graceful opportunity to be on the platform. I gotta go get some food with my grandfather and uncle.
I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
later,
I
cousin.
appreciate it, JC. Thank you, brother.
Bye, JC.
Bye bye. Love you,
Later.
cuz. See you later. How do I leave this thing, by the way?
Oh, we got you, man. I got you. All right, peace, brother. Okay. Beyonda, did you have a retort? And then I'm gonna get to Taylor. Go ahead, Beyonda.
Nah,
No.
I don't think
Okay.
so.
I understand why. Let me get to Taylor. Hey, Taylor, how you doing, Taylor?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Just rules on the panel. Just no cursing, okay? Just TikTok guidelines, please, okay? The topic today is who gets judged more for being single, men or women? You go ahead, Taylor.
I mean, I feel like it's a double-sided sword because I feel like people can judge either way. And I don't like to, just on my personal experience, I was literally just on a live a couple hours ago, and I was judged harshly for being single. Not primarily because of my age or because I was a woman, but it was because I was a woman and I was being an adult. And because he said I couldn't say I was independent. And so I think that in today's society, we just are a lot more harsher to people versus just having some understanding that we're all just out here primarily trying to find a person that is a well suitor for them, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, Taylor, not to have you come here and have the same experience you had at an old panel, but what was the actual context? I'm just curious because, sometimes people hear things and get triggered. So what was the actual context in terms of why you maybe have gotten that treatment in terms of you being single and stuff like that? What was the conversation?
It was more about why do women get so offended when they're checked, and he was saying that he believes that women should not have a career, not go to college, not do any of that, and that men find it really unattractive that I am 27 and I live alone and I have a business. And I said, what did you want me to do? Did you want me to be 45 still at my mom's house waiting for a suitor? Like, it's just not the way the world works right now. Like, I would much rather have loved at some point in my life to have met a man that was up to par to be able to spend my life with. It just didn't happen that way. And my parents were kind of like, you need to figure out your life, and I did. And he just pretty much said that all men are going to find it extremely unattractive that women are, or that he defined it as a little bit masculine or independent. And I said, well, then I can just say I'm being an adult, because I don't like to use the independent. I just like to use, I think it goes both ways. Like, if a man is being an adult, it's the same as me. It doesn't, if they're in an apartment and they're single and they have a career, it's the same as me. It's just we're all adults here. But I think he had a different point of view, and I was just trying to understand his point of view. I wasn't really triggered. I was kind of curious. I did agree with a lot of the things he said, but I also felt like it was a little bit unrealistic, because at some point, if I was still living at my parents at 27 without a suitor, they probably would be like, get up and do something, do something. 'Cause my parents just didn't, raise me that way. They wanted me to have purpose and at least have some sort of adulthood.
I know, I understand that. That makes sense. And yeah, you know, then if you do, then if you don't type of thing. I get that fifth. You get what you're saying?
Yeah.
It's a fair point, I mean, you have to live your life, and if you have, dreams, goals, and aspirations that you're trying to go for, and you're single while doing it, I mean, you're still considered to be younger than me. I'm 28, so I'm only a year older than you. That's not necessarily a red flag for you having your own business, It's I think what guys, the reason why they respond the way they do is because when they hear women say they have a business, a lot of times when women have a business, they're, very A-type personality and, masculine or whatever. Not saying that you are, but a lot of women are. And so if a guy were to go for something like that, then, they would probably look at that and say, no, I'm good, because they don't want to deal with a masculine woman who's going to be argumentative and rude, I guess.
Well, and then Taylor, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Can I ask so I guess maybe it's not a question to you, but just a question in general. Women who are business owners and entrepreneurs, right? Do they even have space? Do they even feel that they even have time for a relationship?
I mean, I understand, like, your points, both of your points were kind of like, I get the look of it. I understand that. And I would say when I started my business, I didn't date at all, because I had to put everything into it, because I had to make it. And because of that, I wasn't dating, and anytime I was asked out, I would just say, I apologize, but I don't have the time for that. But if I met somebody who could equally respect that, I mean, just like, it's a little bit different, right? Like, when you have a normal job, you still have to prioritize your job when you go into it. And then when you clock out, you have a little bit more time. Like, yes, you talk to them during the day if you can, depending on your job, and that has to be your priority. You can't get fired, so there's a certain amount of attention that is at a job. And with a business, it's the same way. It's just a balance. You know, I think people who don't have time for it in their business, it's because, one, they're in a crucial point of like where I was at when I started. But you're doing business wrong if you don't have space to hold for just normal life. Like, it would be the same as saying I don't have time for my family and like the friends that I love because I have a business, you know? And so I think that, I mean, it's a balance, because I'm also not clingy. Like, I would like to have my own life outside of that with a partner and be a team. But I still, you know, I have no family here, but I travel. I'll take long weekends and travel down to North Carolina and see my parents. I'll have my brother over for his birthday. He's in college right now. I'll go out with my girlfriends for birthday parties and things like that. Like, I still make time for the people I love, and a partner would be no different.
Well, I think you know, and as human beings, you know, the main goal in this life is to find balance, right? Balance of work, you know, fun, all that stuff, right? And so when women have a business, a lot of especially in 2026, and you know, from the years moving forward, is that a lot of guys know or think they know that whenever a woman has a business, that she's not willing to walk away from that if a good guy walks into her life, because then she'll prioritize the business or not be fully submitted to him. And so that's what guys usually think, and that's what leads them to look at you a certain way and have like, because you know, like, because the optics, you know, are everything to a guy. If it doesn't look right, then they're not going to go for it, you know. I don't know you personally. You seem nice, and you know, I don't doubt that if the right guy came into your life, that you would be all for him. But you know, a lot of women nowadays have the mindset of they're not going to walk away from their business because a man walks into their life, which is fair, you know. But then at the same time, if they're, you know, in their mid-30s complaining about not having a guy, they can't necessarily have it both ways, you know. Not everyone can have everything they want, and I think that's the mindset of a lot of women. Not saying that's you, but they want their cake and eat it too, and then if they don't get that, then that's, you know, the men's fault, I guess.
Well, I would say this for Taylor, and then I'm gonna let you talk. I'm sorry, but I would say this for Taylor. I treat all women a case by case basis. I try to listen to enough of them speak. I have this thing. I have it on my show, and I have it in life, and that is let them talk long enough, and eventually they will tell on themselves. Right. So I have a thing about just listening. Okay. And so one of the things that I'm trying to that I pick up on is that I have to, when a woman says she has these things going on for her life, I need to also dig into what actually she likes and what she expects of a man. If it's because what will happen is that a woman will say, well, I'm single. And then it's okay, you're single because what? Right? Then when they tell me what the because is, then it actually would answer why she's actually single. I listen to what men and women say, but then there's also what they don't say. So, not saying you, Taylor, but you know, I've had women come on my panel who are, you know, businesswomen and entrepreneurs, right? And they will say stuff like, "Oh, well, I'm single because I'm a career woman." Is that all? Well, yeah. Well, I'm a career woman and blah blah blah. Then when I hear them talk more, I find out that the woman is actually that she's not willing to care. She's not willing to share. She's not really a caring woman. She's not a nurturing woman. You know, she's not a kind woman. She only wants men who are 6'5" and up and make a certain amount of money. And then, she has an attitude. I'm like, oh, that's why you're single. Not because you're a career woman. It's because you're really just not a good person.
And I agree. And I do understand. I've seen it before. Business owners, especially women, can have like the F-all kind of attitude and very masculine. And I will say I do have a masculine side because I have to, because, of having that role in being structured and but the only reason why I play that role is because I am doing it alone. When I started, it was just me. People who have employees and all those other things, they can take a step back, and I'm fully equipped to have the mindset. My sister had a business as well, and she grew that business until she found the right suitor, and that right suitor put her right into her feminine, and she was able to take a huge step back and prioritize having children. And I started it early, not as early as I would like it to, but that's where my life path took me, where, I've never been asked the question recently because I've been dating on and off, just because I get the energy of it is a lot, and I get tired of meeting the same type of people sometimes, or just somebody who doesn't fit, where I'm like, I'm just going to take a break and do what I need to do for myself and my family and my friends, because my life is somewhat fulfilled. Other than that spot. And, I think that that's the big thing, where I've already strategically thought about it, where if it's the whole thing where if I met the right person, I could be 35 and have this business for about maybe 10 years at that point, where I could take a step back, and I could do it's not, I can hold space for that. It's just a matter of, I have standards, but I look for different things than the typical women look for. Every woman looks for different things, and I think it's okay to have standards. However, I've never had a type. The men I've dated, they don't look a certain way. They don't, I just fell in love with the person themselves. Physical attraction is important, and I've always been physically attracted to them, but I've never really had a type. And so, I see where people are coming from. I've heard it a couple times, where the business attitude and being a female and doing it alone. And the panel I was on, I pretty much just said I was like, you're telling me all the things I would have loved to have when I was a young adult, and had somebody to be able to, so I didn't have to worry about this stuff. If a man, because he said men want to provide and protect, and I would have loved that. But I also look for protection more than providing, because now in society, I think that, women can have some form of purpose. They can take the role of being more motherly and having more time with the children if that's what they choose to. But I think it should be a team. But I look for protection more. We were on the panel, and he said, all women want is for men to provide. And I said, the last date I went on, he paid for the whole thing, but he sat his back to the door. And I will give some background. I was raised by a lot of CIA, military, all branches of the men in my life. So I was raised by that. And so I learned different things. Most women are taught to ride a bike. I was taught how to find my exits and find my first weapon if I ever needed to. I know that sounds a little bit scary, and I would not like to live in that state of fear. However, I'm aware of the way the world works, and something about that just tweaked me a little bit, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but then there was just a lot of unawareness of his surroundings that I feel like, and that was something that was way more than just his ability to pay for me. I feel like women nowadays are looking for more, and I am. I don't have a certain type, but I will say I'm looking for somebody who is emotionally available and can hold space for me emotionally, and not just provide, but be the partner and the teammate that I need in this life, because they are going to be raising my children. And being able to raise children financially versus emotionally, and be a protector for them, and have morals and values, are so important.
Okay. KJ, what up, brother?
What up, though?
How you doing, man?
Man, they got me back on Fortnite, bro. This new Sonic collab, I had to get it back, bro. I had to get it back, bro.
Man, shout outs to you because everybody's talking about Rivals since that came out.
Man, I'm still on Rivals too, but hey, we here.
That's what's up. Well, brother, the topic, man, who gets judged more for being single, men or women? You have the floor.
Oh, man, come on. Of course, I was gonna say men, but I definitely say men, because firstly, what we have to understand that there's a dynamic in how we view single men versus how we view single women. Uh, Single women are met with this empowering sort of mindset. Single men are met with this. What the hell are you doing? Why aren't you in a relationship yet? Why don't you have kids? Why don't you? There's a limit that's put on him. He has to meet this criteria within a certain time frame. Otherwise, his value is depreciated. So, if we're not being fully observant of the double standards and how we view men being single versus women being single, these are completely two different monsters. Women are usually empowered for being single, generally speaking. So I would definitely have to give it to men.
I really agree with that. I think that's a great point.
Sure, I was gonna say I agree with what Taylor was saying about being aware of your surroundings. Like me and my fiance, like I live in my house with my fiance and her sister, and now I have like more thoughts like just in my head because now I have to be kind of like aware of the fact that I'm not only looking after my fiance but also her sister. So like as a guy, you do have to be definitely have to be alert, especially nowadays. And I'm very cautious about not to the same level as you are because you were raised different than I am, but I hear you on that. A lot of guys, do get complacent and don't necessarily think about a lot of variables and stuff. I think about everything. So
But I feel like just as a normal human being, even if I wasn't raised that way, everybody should have some form of, awareness, And so I think that's kudos to you for that because you just can't, I can't stress enough the safety of everybody,
yeah, too many things happen, man. Literally, was looking at the case of Lindsay Clancy. Person who unalived her own kids. I mean, yeah, the world's crazy. You see all kinds of messed up stuff on the news, and I get that the news isn't necessarily the most. It's not Disneyland, so it's going to be definitely more filled with darkness and tragedy. But even in my personal life, I had the mindset of not getting into fights with guys when I was in middle school because I already felt a shift in how the world was working even back then. Because a lot of people, a lot of guys now, a lot of boys in high school and whatever, they have these very paper thin feelings. So if you say the wrong thing to them, it can be tragedy. So you have to be aware, and I think people don't necessarily have that wisdom, and they say what they want and think, hey, I can say what I want and nothing happens. But hey, listen, things have consequences.
About
Absolutely.
that case specifically, the thing that is enraging me about it is the fact that I feel like I understand postpartum. Me personally, I've never been through it, right? I don't have kids. Never had a miscarriage. So, but I do understand the psychological aspects of it, just from a scientific point of view, as well as having siblings that I've seen gone through like those kinds of things. So I get it, but to the point where there are people that are completely disregarding the loss of the life of the children, that part really makes me sick. And I'm sorry whoever feels offended by that, but it's really disgusting.
Well, I also feel like it's being used as a tactic, which I might get some hate for because she's not in the months of postpartum, and postpartum is so severe that majority of the time women seek help because they have the thoughts of hurting their children. I mean, I work with mothers, so I've seen it firsthand, but I also had a girlfriend who had thoughts about hurting her child when she first had a newborn and thoughts of hurting herself, and she didn't want to hurt her child, so she jumped out of a moving vehicle, and then sought help. There's something about it that doesn't add up right, and I think it's really disrespectful to the women who really do suffer from it, especially because a lot of women get hate for it because nobody can really comprehend it because they haven't gone through it, and it's so hard to comprehend those feelings and the hormones and the mental health crisis that you go through. So something about it doesn't sit right with me. I mean, postpartum is supposed to be with 7 months to a year, and those kids were way older, and even like the husband not having any behavioral tics of knowing that his wife was going through all that and not getting her the help she needed. And just there's so many parts of that case that just doesn't make sense at all.
I'll tell you what I really hate about that. The mother recently came out and said that she's been made aware on multitudes of occasions that she was thinking about whacking her kids.
Well, a lot of the times
Mother,
postpartum.
the mother said nothing. She didn't do anything about
Yep.
it. So I'm more so pointing out the fact that there's this double standard that you expected the man to have this interventionist mindset when it comes to the safety of the kids, but he wasn't made aware of these things. The mother was. She didn't do anything, obviously, because the kids are done for.
I mean, all of them should have been more proactive and aware, but he was in the household. He was living with them day in, day out. You know when your girlfriend is mad at you or your friend's mad at you or they're struggling or they're having an off day. You even know when a coworker walks in and they're off and you're like, I think he's having a bad or she's having a bad
Not
day.
really, because I'm not gonna lie to you, y'all women suck at communicating.
But it signals. I know when my mother's mad at me. I know certain things she
We
says.
don't read
Somebody
minds, twin. You're not mind readers.
We're not, but we can tell social cues. We can tell when we're in danger. We can tell when somebody's mad at us or off or, things like that. But I also think, too, there's just a lot about that case in general that just doesn't sit right. I mean, it's a tragedy. It should have never happened. Those kids should have been safe. But, I mean, also postpartum it's instant. Like she had the thought to jump out of her car and she did it. It's not calculated. I mean, this woman was looking up ways to, do these airbags deploy, and what magnitude to deploy if I get in a crash for X, Y, and Z, and like all the things. Like it was calculated. It was so calculated.
For sure. I want to shift and invite Ken. I think, Ken, you're new here on the panel. The only rule here is to just like not curse and be rude to the other panelists. Whenever you're ready, you can unmute and answer the question. Who gets judged more for being single, men or women?
So no cussing. Yeah, I can do that. I'm gonna say in the United States it would be men, because there are a lot of men that are just fed up. I'm in a partnership right now. The person's not really a bad partner. She's a little irritating at times, and it was something that got said the other day when we were discussing this very subject, as compared to when men get parental alienated, and if a man snaps from that, then there's no excuse he has. And I got told I sounded like a misogynist. Now, with all the things I have shown and done in our partnership, to just be labeled like that, I was like, oh, really? So I've been pretty distant for the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, personally, this shit ain't worth it. Like I
Watch
look
your
at all
language,
the
bro.
collections. I look at all the collections of partnerships, relationships I've had. And I'm like, this shit. I looked at the years
Hey,
factor.
bro.
What's up? Oh, sorry.
We don't do cussing up here. Chill out.
Oh yeah, you did just tell me that. That's my fault. So I'm thinking like, is it really worth it to continue this? Because I do believe that when people get a successful marriage from the onset, they have the more likelihood to have success throughout their time. I believe that can be a hit or miss. If you get caught up in a lull of semi-long to semi-short relationships, you might miss the mark. So trying to get that in a way, for me, is not worth it. Now, do I believe that men give women headaches too? I do. Do I believe there's a lot of men out there that have caused women such strife that they have reasons why they don't want to be in relationships? I do. But at the end of the day, men will get talked to like they did something wrong if they just say, you know what, I'm done with this. I would rather just spend the rest of my time doing what I want to do, living how I want to live, and not worrying about a person. And you'll get the stuff. If there's men out there that don't have children, they'll be like, why don't you have a child? I never wanted to have a child. Oh, that's weird. That's creepy. You're a single man without a child. And it's like, there's so much judgment laid where there's a lot of people who just, they don't want to play the game anymore because it's just not worth it. And the only thing, and I'll end here, the only thing people say is worth it. A lot of people, there's a high value spent on physical involvement. And I think that's really the only thing that people claim that men have to have. And personally, after decades of having physical involvement, whether it was close or not, it's really not that worth it to deal with somebody who's bothersome.
Does anyone have a response to that at all? Or a retort?
I get what you were saying about if a man was to do that, then there would be no excuse. I understand that. And I get that right now, currently, I think that there's a big divide in, there's a group of women that are absolute man haters. And then there's men who don't like women at a certain independence. And I think that divides us, and it probably screws the dating world up a lot. But I think what she probably was feeling is the fact that women deal with hormones that can't be understood and seem crazy, but the only way you can understand them if you went through them. Postpartum is something that is very feminine, that men don't have. And so in that
It's
case,
not true.
I mean,
Men actually go through postpartum as well. It's statistically proven.
in what way?
Yes, fathers get postpartum depression. I'll have to get the studies to show you directly what I'm talking about. But if you just simply ask, Google,
No. I'm
do men
intrigued.
have
Yeah.
postpartum depression? Okay, hold on 1 second.
Can I interject just one thing? Do you know how much effort it goes to unaliving a person in that manner? Eventually, you have to realize what you're doing because you have to take steps and calculations in order to continue unaliving. We're talking about 3 youths that were unalived.
I agree. I think, and it was calculated. She researched things. I believe in postpartum, but I was just saying that. I said something about the case doesn't make sense to me from seeing postpartum firsthand. It just doesn't make sense.
Fifth, do you mind?
The husband wasn't there.
Wait,
Give me the big box. Thank you. Yes, men can get postpartum depression, often called paternal postpartum depression. About 1 in 10 new fathers experience it. Symptoms of men often peak 3 to 6 months after birth and tend to show up as anger, frustration, and social withdrawal rather than sadness. Common signs of men: anger, irritability, or sudden outbursts, working long hours to avoid home, pulling away from family and friends, fatigue, headaches, and stomach issues, loss of interest in hobbies or work, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
No, that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
All right, Fifth, you got anything?
Not at the moment. But if you got it, if you got anything you want to get to, you go ahead, and then I'll speak up in a second. I'm just in the car.
I got you. So we're
Or
talking
or
about
if, or if KJ got something, it's all good. Any it's all good. Anybody.
Yeah. Um. So we're talking about who's being judged more and being single, right? Earlier we talked about um gender roles and who's pressured or who's judged more and not fulfilling the gender roles earlier. But I also want to provide this, right? Who do you guys think is judged more for not maintaining a certain body shape? Men or
Men.
women? You guys say men might. Why do you say men?
Because women say that hormones and PCOS and all the hormonal imbalances that, or the fact that we can, give birth and, birth weight can stay on us, and that men have no real reason for being heavier.
Well, stress
Wait,
stress
are we
causes
talking about a woman
cortisol.
post kids or before kids?
In general, I was very vague in what I said about
I
that.
mean,
That
Well,
can
we
she
can
be
brought
we
up
any
the
can
factor.
kids. I was just saying, if a woman doesn't have any kids,
well
then
then
what's
what
the judgment there?
PCOS or endometriosis and all the hormonal, I was just saying that a lot of the times I see it more on the man's side, like on TikTok, I see men getting more hate than women about that because of the hormonal imbalances we can have for like PCOS. I don't think it's right. I think everybody should care for their body, and body shaming is not right in any which way other than concern for somebody's health. But I see a lot of men recently getting hate for it.
So I will say men only because you're not allowed to tell a woman she's FAT in today's society. That's the only reason. As far as valid reason, stress causes cortisol, and cortisol increases body fat in anybody, man or woman. So I don't know if valid would be the correct term, because there's lots of reasons both genders can have excess weight, which primarily has to do with stress and cortisol.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Not to mention that you have more advertisement for bigger women anyway, especially in Victoria's Secret now. I see it all the time in the mall, Kohl's, whatever you go to.
Lane
Definitely
Bryant,
bigger women. Yeah, exactly. Lane Bryant is literally the example.
the
That
category
is
BBWs.
exactly. So I would say that a woman, um, for the most part, get a free pass in that kind of judgment for sure. But I've also seen instances where, let's say, a guy is dating or married to a woman, right? And let's say they're married for about 20 years, and that man still is able to maintain, a good shape, right? But the woman has gained weight. You know, I've seen a lot of guys be kind of like rude and kind of like more judgy towards their wives and kind of like fall out of love with their wives sometimes. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, everybody has their preferences, and you have to understand if you're, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier when I was explaining that if all he knows is like the physical aspect, and is not interested in getting to know like on a deeper level on that first interaction, I sincerely am 95% of the time, 99.9, I'm be honest, not interested in getting to know you any further. For that specific reason, if somebody is showing you that looks are a major factor to them, right? Not just the first interaction, but throughout dating, then you have to be realistic and expect that that is going to be a condition of how appealing you are to them. And I don't think that a lot of people hide that. I think that people kind of expect that we met under these terms, but that shouldn't matter as time goes on. But people will show you where their priorities are if you just listen, look, observe.
Person.
Yes, Fifth, here you go picking on me again. Yes.
So I'm not knocking what you're saying, but we know that men and women have different currency. right?
Correct.
So if a man is not holding up his end of the bargain of provision, what happens?
A woman typically leaves.
Is that fair?
Again, this goes back to if this was the person's primary or a major factor in considering you, then yes, I think it's fair. I think both ways are fair, right? Whatever that person's preference was, whether for a man it was her looks and now she no longer looks that way, it's fair for him not to feel the way he felt before, but that was always apparent. And the way that it is with a woman, and if her primary focus was money and now he doesn't have money and she leaves, I think that is also fair. I think when people are upfront, honest, or if you, because you have a responsibility as the person that's in the dating process. It's not just one person in this relationship. So if you are not taking accountability enough to know the person you're with and know what the primary reason it is that they're with you or the major components, and you choose to remain oblivious, then you can't blame anybody but yourself, to be honest, at the end of the day.
So you're making a case for not so much that the woman should just leave the man, but your case is more so of if it was presented that this is the only way this relationship could happen, these particular conditions, that if that's a woman or a man that you have aligned yourself to, and then you no longer have those conditions, you kind of getting what you asked for? Is that what you're kind of saying?
Exactly. Yes. Most people get what they ask for.
Okay.
You can't say I don't want a shallow man, but he's shown or said in multiple ways that this isn't okay, as well as it's unrealistic if you used to look like a supermodel or whatever and you guys got together and then now that you have him. I think in either case, the way you enter a relationship, you should strive to maintain them. It's unfair to present one thing to somebody, then pull a gotcha moment.
So I guess I'm trying to figure out the equivalent, right? Because money could come and go. Uh, Looks can come and go or go and never come back, right? But part of your looks, I would say, is also your grooming tactics, right? So let's say you got with a man, fresh cut, make sure he's, got his, fragrances, whatever, colognes and all that, smelling good, fresh cut. He's neat, he's presentable, he dresses, when he goes out in public, he dresses like he at least has some respect for himself, right? He doesn't have to be the most flashiest, right? There are women who may have gained weight, but that doesn't mean that they now stop doing their hair like they used to. They stop getting their nails done like they used to. They stop dressing nice. You know what I'm saying? But a man could lose his job, you know, and in the context, not because he got himself fired, but because anything could happen. So is is the equivalence fair on the money part versus the beauty and grooming techniques part?
Yes. If that's why you got with somebody, yes. And as a man, you should understand if you're with a woman that only sees you as an ATM, because there's a different set of qualities a woman has when she's seeking a provider versus when she wants an ATM. There's a clear difference.
You mean like
Okay.
marrying other than like love? Like of course, providing and protection is a good one, but like if a man knows that she's like quote unquote a gold digger, and then he loses all his money, then he got what he asked for, or like any kind of like just an example. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, but that wasn't even my point. Getting with a gold digger. I get that part. That's easy to actually talk about. Any behavior that is unbecoming and transactional and frivolous is a very easy point to talk to. I'm talking about when that's not the thing. Men and women lose their jobs all the time, but I don't know too many divorces because a man divorced his wife because his wife lost a job. But there are many divorces where the man lost his job and she was out. And she will tell you, well, it's not because I'm a gold digger. It's because of blah, blah, blah. You know, finances is top 3 in reasons for divorce filings.
It was never
Top
love.
3.
It was never love then. The oath isn't taken seriously anymore.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know too many men. Now I may be incorrect now, because then the nuance kind of changes here. I don't know too many men who've divorced their wife because they let their looks go. Now there are men who have cheated on their wife when her looks have gone. So that may be a fair argument, but it's right there in the books. And you know, divorce paperwork is something that you could look up because that's public. Once you file for a divorce and you put the reason on it, that's something that could be actually researched. But finances are definitely top 3 on why divorces happen. And I'm telling you, many of those women will definitely defend the fact that they were not gold diggers.
Okay, so what do you call someone whose primary focus is finances? I think we just don't want to call a spade, but if finances was the primary reason you're with that person, then hello?
But that's most women's primary reason. So are we calling most women gold diggers?
If the shoe fits?
I think many women would disagree with that.
No, but
But
this is the
okay.
thing. Again, there's a difference between a provider and someone seeking a provider and someone seeking an ATM. There's a clear difference.
No, I
The
get it.
person,
But what happens when I'm talking about when you lose your job, not because it's
okay,
income. Go ahead.
okay. What I'm saying is someone that's seeking a provider, like that doesn't stop, right? It may be a temporary thing, but that person is still going to be trying to figure out ways to make it work. And if it's the case where she wasn't working because he was taking over a majority of the finances, it may be a thing of, hey, I know this is uncommon for me, but I might need to go get a job at Walmart. I might need to go do this, but this is a temporary situation, not a permanent one. Because a true provider like never stops. And plus, being a provider is not just in the aspects of finances, but in the aspects of finances that we're talking about now. That's not something that all of a sudden, because she got a job, that he's gonna be like, oh my god, now I can relax and I don't got to do this anymore, and now we can restructure the whole concept of our relationship, right? But if the primary reason she was getting with that man was because that man was her ATM, then yeah, just wear the shoes.
Yeah, I could rock with that. Now, spent time on that because we were talking about the looks thing, right? So many women would definitely have a problem with men who have left their wives because she got fat.
Too
Unless he
bad,
like
so sad.
unless he like big women. But what I'm saying is I I kind of find it that, you know, I'm seeing it more culturally acceptable for women leaving their men because he goes broke, but let a man leave his wife because she got fat. I mean, all hell breaks loose.
I mean, I think it's like a double-edged sword in that one too. Like I think if a woman was going through something and as you taking a vow to try to, sickness and health and try to be better together, like say address your concerns, and then if she's like not willing to do anything about it, because you want your partner to stay healthy and live a long healthy life with you. So I feel like if the person's not willing to do anything about it, then I would understand. It's like hitting your head against a brick wall, that like I would understand why a man would leave, versus a man sitting down and being like, hey, I love you, I think that right now you're going through something, I want to help, and as a partnership working on it. But I mean, it's the same as anything, you sit down with somebody who's drinking too much and you're like, hey, I love you, let's work on this together. And if they're not willing to do it, at some point you have to, because with things like that, it will put the relationship, anything like that, money, addiction, weight, it will put the relationship down. It will tear into your relationship.
But
Yeah.
that goes back to accountability. If you're with a partner that has a problem with accountability, man or woman, you're going to have a hard relationship. Maybe not the first year, maybe not the second one, but it's going to come a point where it's just going to be hard. And I think this is why, if we're speaking about a man telling a woman, hey, you're a little bit fat now, can we go change this? It's World War III, because a lot of people aren't going to be accountable and say, yeah, you know what? I did gain a few pounds. Now we switch the conversation from talking about what I find, I'm speaking as if I was a man, right? If what I find unattractive in you, to you hurt my feelings. Well, the conversation respectfully is not about your feelings. It's about my feelings. And my feelings are hurt that I no longer get to have the same sense of enjoyment that I had when we were once together. And it's not for a lack of understanding that you may be going through things or any of this, but I'm coming from a place where my needs are not being fulfilled. And it's not happy spouse, it's not happy wife, happy life, it's happy spouse, happy house. You can't be one-sided, you can't be one way.
Person, I would say a lot of men sometimes are going to find that very hard to do with the wife that they have, because I would say the number one thing that's going to be affected immediately is the intercourse part of their marriage. Now, if that activity may come to a screeching halt if she is offended by him pointing out that she's letting herself go.
And then you're like in a relationship with an emotionally abusive person that use sex as a weapon.
Right, but the man would be called the emotion. He would be called that because they would say, well, now she doesn't feel now she can't even get turned on anymore because you talked about the woman's weight and self-conscious. Many women will say, oh, I can't believe he did that. You know what I mean? And so that is something that would really turn on him anyway. The man really can't win in this situation.
Okay, well then stop dating these women. Just stop. Let them be single. I'm so serious. Like eventually, like the ideologies will stop being passed on to children, and then like society will autocorrect in a few generations. I think the more both sides take a firm stance and stop dating undesirable partners, eventually it's gonna autocorrect itself, because the only people that are gonna be left procreating are people that have done the internal work to understand. I'm not going to use Darvo, which is what you're talking about, Fifth. What you're talking about is a Darvo method where you deflect, you switch the narrative, and now what wasn't the conversation or problem in the first place, the victim and the abeer gets flipped to suit a point in the narrative. Yeah, no, just stop. It's easy. It's a simple solution.
Yeah. I've been on the other hand of that. It's very easy to fall into that. That's very easy to do. Sadly, the conversation is now there's a certain thing that needs to be talked about, and then when that gets talked about, then now how it was talked about now becomes the conversation now, and then you're the bad guy now.
Yeah.
That's a really good manipulation tactic, but it's very easy to kind of fall in that back and forth in the communication. Sadly, so then now, because you know how people say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. But it doesn't matter. You can say it in the most softest way, but because you said thing, you're cooked now. You know. But I get what you're saying in terms of the person that you're getting with, because when you're vetting, but some things you don't have, you don't know how it's going to be received until it actually happens, right? Like we can talk about a lot of things until it happens for real. But there are some things that you definitely should be vetting for in terms of how a person processes and takes information um, in an
Perceives it.
argument, and perceives them, right. And some things you will know before we get to that part. If we're talking about the weight thing, the weight part is not usually the first thing. There will be other things before that. So if you're seeing how they respond to those, then don't be surprised that when we now get to the weight thing, that's a big thing. Because the small things were made big things. So when the big thing happens, just expect it to be 10 times worse.
This is factual, and that's why I said I like an observant partner. But yeah, so when I so when I don't hear certain volumes well, right? And I will say, I would love to have this conversation with you, but it's hard for me to hear you. That is completely different than saying, well, look how you're talking to me. Maybe I'm reacting the way I'm reacting because of how you talk to me. Like, look how you're talking to me. Those two things are completely different. For a lot of people, they sound like the same things. They are not. One is trying to get you to communicate in a way that is easy to be received, and is geared towards actually trying to understand you while still understanding myself, that the volume that it's being spoken in is raising a defense system within me. So you're not going to be heard, right? The other is attempting to deflect away from the problem and focus on your actions, or in this case, it would be like your volume. Those are completely two different things.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to downplay the what you say, how you say things doesn't matter, not because there's a difference between this, right? Okay, you gain a little weight, right? And then your man says, "Girl, you fat, right? Lose some weight," as opposed to, "Hey, if we want to be around on this planet longer for each other, I think we should do a better job of making sure that we live a healthier lifestyle. So I think we should adjust what we eat." That's going to be received very differently from, "Girl, you fat, lose some weight." You know what I'm saying? So I'm not downplaying that how you say things and what you say. I'm not downplaying that, but what I'm saying is the example that I gave right there about saying it the other way. even that can be received crazy, depending on who you with. So I understand your point, person, in terms of what are you picking, you know, because a rational person should be able to respond to that very differently from someone who's not rational at all.
This is factual.
Yeah.
Beyonder, are you with us?
Oh yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to
Okay.
speak to any of the things that me and person are talking about?
No, I see both sides, and yeah, no, I have nothing right now. I've been thinking about other questions related to the topic, but they're kind of like I don't know how to really explain it. They're probably better for probably better for other panels, I think.
Okay.
So that's why I haven't been talking a lot because I reached my question limit.
Threshold? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because any other questions that I ask is either going to be like completely away from the topic, which at that point might as well be another panel, or it's just too
Yeah.
polarizing. So
Well, I think I may have something. So, I mentioned the age thing. I also mentioned what you may have um, under a certain amount of time. Like if you're someone you're single, but you've been divorced before. So there's going to be some more context to why you're judged versus if you didn't have that. I think we all know that that's very easy. A person who has an ex-wife and kids trying to date again, ex husband and kids, is definitely going to be treated differently when you don't have that attached at all. I think that's kind of obvious. Um, so I think who's looked at the whole red flag conversation could happen, right? One of the things that a man will be judged for if he's not married by a certain time of his life is, well, uh, what um, what is it? What is it that is stopping that? Could it be that he's just shy, or could it be that there's something wrong with him? Or he'll get the YAG spelled backwards tag applied to him. You know what I'm saying? If you know what I'm saying. A woman, you may hear, well, she's probably crazy, or she probably has lost her ability to emotionally connect to a man. So this is why she got dogs and cats as opposed to a man. You know what I'm saying? So then she's gonna get judged. She's gonna get judged. She's gonna get judged in that way too. But I think some things are more so of a circumstance. I think a man who maybe doesn't have certain things going for himself in terms of like his living space. If his living space doesn't is not his own, then that would definitely get into uh, the type of woman that he can get and how many women he may be able to have access to because of the fact that he doesn't have his own living space, right? So that's going to be a factor. A woman who's still, I have to say,
Cutting out.
judged very differently. I think it's. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying that a woman. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Beyond.
No, I'm saying that we hear you. That's all I was saying.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying that a woman. Let's say she's still. Did y'all hear me when I talked about the man in his living space?
Yes.
Okay. Now, a woman who doesn't have her own living space at a certain age, I don't think that's going to really hurt her per se in terms of still getting an eligible boyfriend or a husband because that's going to be judged differently. Typically, the woman moves in with the man anyway. It's not the other way around in most cases. So that will also push into how he gets judged in the dating market in terms of how he's single. Does anybody want to speak to that?
rules. They're really not. It's about tyranny. It's not about equality. Because if we were truly seeking out equality, we would judge everybody for the same standards. But society, for a large part, still expects men to have some sort of traditional standards, which is why, like, if the man doesn't have his own space, you'll hear like a lot of people say, well, why are you even dating then? Right? Can you even date? Right? Because you're living under the guise of someone else's rules, so to speak. Whereas a woman, it's not really the same way because society doesn't really expect much of her. Men don't expect much of her, to be honest. Like when a man is choosing a spouse, oftentimes it's not how much you make or what's your living position or anything like that. It's typically based on what does your heart look like. Do you have certain qualities that I look for in a partner, whether that be looks, whether that be can you cook, whether that looks like are you a caring, compassionate person? Can I come to you and not feel judged when I come to you, right? Can I have a conversation with you and it be like rational? Do you have accountability, like whatever that looks like? So I think it is more so on things that don't have to do with finances for the woman. Even though a lot of women would say, but I have my own anyway. A lot of men, when they're seeking a partner, that's not what they're thinking about. And even the men that do care about that, they are still judged by society for 1 in 50-50 something that women created, right? So it's just, I don't know.
You got anything on that, Beyonda?
No, not really.
So, earlier a woman came up here,
Yep.
and maybe I should have this for a topic at some point, but, a lot of women a lot of women have come on my panel, not just that woman earlier, but when they always talk about wanting a man or a desire for a man, or just women in general and singlehood, they always want to go to well, we make money now, so we really don't need you.
Yeah.
I never heard a man get the bag and say he don't need women anymore.
Yeah. That's never said. And that's the problem with the mindset that they have, Like a man wants to feel needed, because if he doesn't feel needed, then why is he there? Like that's kind of like the whole thing, right? And so when women have that mindset and say that out loud, especially out loud part, that's the part that really gets the guys. You saying it out loud. Like, you have the gall to say it out loud is crazy. You say it out loud, and that's why a lot of guys don't want to be with you, because you're out here, fully confident in your beliefs and cool. Stand 10 toes on that when you're 45 and single. You
Yeah.
don't need a man, then fine, that's cool. Just stand 10 toes on that. Stand 10 toes on that all 15 years of your prime. That's all I gotta say about that. Because it's all funny whenever until you're the one in need of someone, yeah. Because if you didn't need a man, then the fact of the matter is that women in the 35 and 40 wouldn't be on antidepressants, right? The fact of the matter is human beings need each other, right? The same way that a son or a daughter needs parents, right? It's the same thing. Human compatibility is what makes the world go around, right? So when we're talking about the romantic sense, right? Mostly everyone desires someone in a romantic sense, right? And so, for the most part, men want to be with women and vice versa. So if a woman is in the marketplace for dating, but has the gall to say she doesn't need a man, then essentially she's tapping out of the marketplace, right? And when she's alone, she wants to get back in it, but at that point, it's too late. It passed.
Mm. Boy, you spot on because I mean my thing is it's said like it's a flex, you know. It's said like it's a flex, like you know, well, I don't need the man no more because I got the money, and it's like what? So does money replace the man?
Exactly. Exactly. And women are the only people on earth. And I know for a fact, like, okay, this panel that we had, it had to have been a few months ago. I don't remember the day, but I know that it was daytime, obviously, because it was 1 p.m. And
Yeah.
Dr. Love was on here, and they're talking about, oh, well, the world, women don't need men. Like, like if the world didn't have men, I don't think she was making an argument for why like, men not being here, but she was saying that, it'd be okay if men weren't here. And I'm just
You got a phone call. We left you at Amjust.
I get the point that he was making. I was there. I remember the show. Respect to the lady, but she had feminist talking points and had a strong man feminist talking point. And then when somebody called her a feminist, that didn't get received well. But it's like, but that's the talking point and the platform that you're, you know, standing on a podium in the moment of the conversation. So of course that tag is gonna hit you.
exactly. She definitely had feministic talking points, it was written all over her argument,
Yeah.
and Jess too. She was saying if we're talking about lifting the fridge or whatever, right?
Well, she's a
How
self-proclaimed. She don't get offended when people call her that.
no, for
That's
sure,
yeah,
but she was saying that we don't need men to lift the fridge, and it's like if that's the case, then why do you call them? Do it yourself then, like you know what I mean? I don't understand that. It's like that logic makes no sense.
It
Well,
doesn't. It doesn't make sense. And that's a fallacy. That we don't need men. Majority of if we had no men, we'd have no houses. There'd be no more new houses being built, or at a very slow pace. I'm talking about extremely slow. And even when people are like, well, there are women in the construction field, I'm like, do you look at the actual roles they do in the construction fields? Most of the hard lifting, they're still done by men. Like, regardless if they're, it's just like when we talk about the oil rigs. Well, we'd still have oil. No, you wouldn't. Most of the women in the oil rig field, they're doing administrative things. They're not the actual workers and stuff. You would have no food. Majority of truckers are men. So the people that transport your food to the grocery store so that you are conveniently able to drive them using oil produced by men. So you would be walking everywhere. Society would come to a halt very quickly if there are no men. And I know people are like, but women could work out and we could do this. And I'm like, well, what time frame are you given? Because how long do you think it's going to be before your grocery stores run out of food? Now, how long do you think it's going to be before there's no more gas for you to pump in your car? How long do you think it's going to be before something electrical goes wrong and there's no man to fix it? Like, how long do you think society itself could actually rebound with a lot of these dominated skills it's to be able to sustain and keep going generations, because it's easier to maintain than it is to repair or build.
This is why they had to stop doing the men versus women Bear Grylls shows, because the producers had to step in to help the women.
Yeah, because a lot of people that argue that point, they're not logical. And if anything, those panels, they've always confused me. And I would sometimes just go in there to cause chaos, even though I don't like chaos. I don't like illogical people. And so I would go in there and I'd say, well, I'm taking away the black bear. I'm putting you in there with a polar bear. What's your thoughts now? You still want to be there with a bear?
Hey, look, I say let them pick the bear. You know,
Well, yeah. I say
well, because you know
we
what,
can pick.
you know what bear they think they're gonna get. They think they're gonna get the bear from Jungle Book. No, you're gonna get the bear from the Revenant. So go ahead. You're not getting
I'll say this.
You're not
I'll
getting
say
Winnie the
this.
Pooh. They think they're getting Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, go ahead, Beyonda.
I'll say this. Right? Is it's not about picking the bear or pick each other. How about that? It's like
Yeah.
you're so worried about oh, men are this. Listen, right?
That
And
doesn't work.
I have.
But go ahead.
Well, hold on. I had this argument that I had with the Dr. Love back then, right? And this is this notion that men are these, evil vibe. Listen, do people not realize that? Let's say, for example, right? Let's say a nationwide EMP knocked out everything. No Wi-Fi, no internet, no nothing, no power, nothing, right? We would see, and you know what's funny is about that, as I watched a podcast about a guy who worked in the military and said that, the Russians have an EMP like that. They actually have an EMP that can knock out America's, power and
Grid,
everything,
that
right?
grid, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? So he was saying, and then the question was, what would the world look like? And the movie The Purge doesn't do justice to what would happen. It would actually be a million times worse than that. Because there is no main character that survives. No. You either survive or you don't, right? And you want to talk about men being bad now while there's law, bro? Women don't have an inkling of a clue why the military exists, why there are men out there that die for their freedom. You know why? It's because it protects other men who want to see our freedom go kaput from having that happen. And whenever you remove parameters around order and law, you're going to get people's true inhibitions, then they're going to act on them. And it's going to be catastrophic, right? Everything that women see on TikToks and the Wade Wilson on the court y'all know if you heard of him or whatever, and all kind of things, right? None of that equates to the kind of chaos and strife that evil men can cause, right? And so women don't have any idea what they're talking about. Talking about, oh, men are the. Do you know that there's a show that's dedicated to women unaliving their husbands? There's a show. It has 9 seasons. Women are just as evil and bad as an evil man. Like we're not gonna just sit here and make it seem like men are just the problem to everything. No, like they're people who are bad are the problem, right? It's not men or women. It's both.
But also
Yes.
too, I put my reasons in the comment why that wouldn't work. By the way,
Yeah.
beyond
Yeah,
but
women don't cooperate with each other too well at some point. That's true.
yeah,
What do you
but
mean?
also women to women relationships, they have higher DV stats, they have higher divorces, right?
Oh no,
Versus
I
a
wasn't talking
man to a
about choosing
woman.
like other women. I was talking about women choose like the men and women treat each other instead of like having the argument. That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
I
he's
wasn't
saying
saying that women choose women. I
yeah,
was
he's
saying
not he's not talking about L couples. He was just basically saying that this argument about who would you choose, the man or the bear, that little silly stupid stuff on social media, that there were many women that said they would choose the bear, and he was like, well, how about we just choose each other? He means we as in men and women. But to speak to your point, person, as far as the women can't stand other women, that is true in a lot of ways. I see it in the workforce when there's too many women that have to be accountable to each other. that falls flat too. So I know a lot of women will talk about how men are the problem in leadership, but women, when they get in leadership, they are not too kind to each other either. I've seen it.
Oh yeah, it happens all the time.
You know, women will talk about patriarchy all they want, and then when they get in this particular high seat, they'll act worse than the men because they think that's how you're supposed to be a leader or a boss.
Yeah, pretty much.
They will pick the most extreme parts of a man and how he leads in his leadership, and they will actually, to their own detriment, become women who oppress other women.
Yeah, I mean, most people fighting for quote unquote equality aren't fighting for equality. They're fighting for the right to oppress other people. Yeah.
Right, and I had a woman admit that it's not equality that feminists want, it's really equity. And I said, well, I could have told you that.
Right. Equity.
Because it's equality until it's time to pay for something. It's equality
Mm.
until it's time to protect something. It's equality until it's time to be responsible for something. Then it's, oh,
Mm,
well, he's a man. He should have been able to do that, you know?
Yeah.
So,
No, I say all the people that identify as feminists or have feminist viewpoints, I think all of them should be enlisted in the draft. Automatic.
oh, they won't fight
Automatic.
for that.
You
They
want
won't.
freedom
Trust me.
so bad, I'm giving it to you.
Trust me, if that bill was in a, because it would probably be in a proposition, it probably wouldn't be an executive order. But let's just say that was in a proposition bill. I'm pretty sure all women would vote no. They do not want to be equal in terms of civil service.
Nope.
Heck no.
Nope.
That is a no, no, no.
Nope.
You know? So, hey, I need final thoughts because I got to go, okay?
Okay, final thoughts. I'm still not sharing my food, but you can get your own.
Okay. Hey, that's okay. As long as you listen, if you go into the Jamaican spot and you pick me up some beef patties too, you still are thinking about me and I appreciate that.
Okay, that's easy. Done and done.
There you go. Beyonda, any final thoughts, my brother?
Final thoughts. You know, it was a good panel. I would have liked to see certain people here today, but it's all
Yeah.
good. I'm not that's what it is, you know.
Yeah.
Other than that, good show. Looking forward to. Well, I'm not confident that I'll be there Monday. I don't know if I will or not.
Well,
Not yet. But
remember, I'm going on vacation, so I'm gonna be.
never
Yeah.
mind. Forgot about that. You're going
Yeah.
on vacation. Look at that. Okay.
Yeah. So Fifth at
Got
Night
you.
on YouTube, that will come back September 14th, but the next TikTok will be the week of Labor Day week, so that's the 10th, I think, of September.
Got
So,
Wait until the 14th? Damn, where you going?
well, I'm gonna be back before that, but what it is that I'm gonna take Labor Day off.
Oh,
I
okay.
want everyone to take Labor Day off, so it's kind of like my gift to not just me but to everyone.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, but the TikTok will be back before Fifth at Night on
Heard
YouTube.
you.
Okay.
Heard
Yeah,
you. Okay.
I'll let y'all know when I get back.
For sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
All right. So I appreciate everyone coming today. Thank you, person. Thank you, brother Beyonda. Always. Right. And I'll see y'all in a few weeks. Everyone have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.